Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome. What? Hold on. Let me go ahead and fix this. What is even happening? Oh my goodness. My camera, it's just me coming to you live by you know, a completely still image. Are we gonna work? Hold on. I'm just trying to fix my camera. Try this. There. There I am. All right. I apologize. Guys, it's been a day. It's been a day, a very long day. And I am so sorry for the technical issues. You know, I know why the chat wasn't there. That's my fault. The chat was my fault. However, the whole like frozen face, like that wasn't me. I mean, that was me yesterday. That was the shirt I wore yesterday. I don't know why it was like that. Very weird, very weird. All right, all right, all right. So, the headphones are on. Oh, let me say, welcome to Law Explaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And I'm wearing these headphones because we have a caller who'll be calling in sometime in the next couple minutes, who I think many of you are interested in hearing from. I know I am. They always say to lead with what you got wrong, right? Lead with what you got wrong. So tonight I'm going to lead with something that I got wrong, and I've got a guest calling in to talk about it. But, you know, okay. Okay. My humblest apologies. I thought for the life of me that the lawsuit would be filed today. Now, how did I get it wrong? Well, because, guys, I've got to finally admit it to you. This is all a grift and a ruse. Vic is already rotting in a Colombian prison. Ty is halfway to Grand Cayman or something. Somewhere with embezzlement shelters. And he's made off with his half of the whatchamacallit, the GoFundMe, and my half of the GoFundMe. Like, I fooled you this whole time. You thought this was an office in a vault. This is an office. They were right. They were right. I am in a trailer, and this trailer is driving through the Soviet area right now. Later, comrades, I am gone with all good things. No. No. But how did I get this wrong? Okay. So the way lawsuits work is sometimes you get them all ready and then something comes up and slows them down. Or sometimes you think they're going to be ready and you come across some extra facts that you just need to get in. But I can't actually tell you because I'm not the lawyer, right? I'm the commentator on YouTube. So I can't tell you why it went wrong, but Ty is going to do that just a little bit. What's going on? Have they quit? Have they given it up? Is it all for nothing? I highly doubt it. But Ty will talk about that. So while we wait, let me go ahead and Oh my goodness. I hope you guys didn't believe me. Let me go ahead and read through some of these chats that have come in so far while we wait for Ty. I'm guessing he's going to call in just a minute. But I've been wrong before, right? I've been wrong before. Mythos Irving says, great title, Nick. Thank you, Tiberius, the one true emperor, for putting lying, slanderous mobs in their place. Fear the beard, blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. Thank you for that. We've got ink penification. Oh, this one's for Ty. These are all for Ty. Okay, I'm going to save these $20 chats for Ty because, you know, he'll be on in just... I asked him to call in at 11:05, so it should be any moment. So Scar231 says Fiat Justitia Ruat Kalem. Oh, hey, speaking of Ty, just a second here. Hello, sir. I'm good. I'm good. Let me go ahead and bring you on air if you're all set. Okay. Welcome to the show, Ty Beard. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, Nick. How are you, sir?
Oh, I've been better. I've been better.
Has the mob flayed the hide off your bones yet?
It's still attached, but only barely. Only barely.
Well, I'm calling, of course, from the Cayman Islands, as you noted in your intro. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have to notice there were no lawsuits filed today, so I can only assume that you've pocketed the GoFundMe money and you're off. You're out of here.
Yes, obviously, if we didn't get it out today, then we can't get it out tomorrow. Because it had to happen today. Otherwise, we've missed the window of opportunity, and now we all just have to go home.
Yeah, well, that's Texas Rule of Civil Procedure 14. 0.3.
Yeah, 14A, 3A actually, I think is the rule. No, man, I'm sorry for leaving you hanging out like that. It was one of those days. I think I had sent you a text, a rather cryptic text earlier today that said that, lawsuits are never completed; they're just abandoned.
Right. Yeah.
It occurred to me that some might misunderstand that, but. Actually, what happened was we had there was some discovery out there that when you have a team approach like we do, sometimes other team members weigh in at different times on strategies and stuff like that. But what happened was there was some discovery out there that I had already been assured I'd get. It didn't. I had not really thought about including it in the initial petition, but when I mentioned it to Jim. One of our senior lawyers, he was like, "Oh my God, you've got to get that. We got to get that in the petition." And I said, "Oh, well, okay."
Oh.
So I tried to get the source of the discovery. It was one of those things they had told me some time back. We'll get it for you. And I said, "Great. I'll let you know when we really need it, but go ahead and start assembling it," and blah blah blah. Well, so when Jim tells me that, I texted him this today. And I got a text tonight, as a matter of fact, confirming we'll have it tomorrow. So cross your fingers. Not only will we be filing tomorrow, but this new discovery will be very interesting. I'm sure you'll cover it in your show in epic detail.
Oh, good. So, we'll have to try and figure out what it was on the show. But no, so okay. I was explaining to the audience that sometimes when you're preparing a lawsuit. You get something changes at the sort of last minute. It seems like the last minute. It's only last minute because you decide the next minute to go ahead and file. But
right.
But you come across things, and part of the reason is because as you get a good idea of all this stuff, but it's really until you start putting it down into a factual summary that everything really slides into place and congeals into what will ultimately become the lawsuit. And sometimes you've got stuff that you realize is more important, like what sounds like what happened here.
Yeah, exactly. And our particular workflow is, as far as I can tell, unique. I've never run into a law firm that does it like we do. Many law firms will say that they use a team approach to cases. It's been our experience that's really not true. Most of the time there's one lawyer and he will occasionally let others weigh in, but pretty much it's his or her case. Ours really is a true team concept. We have, on any given major matter, we have the lead who is typically the attorney that brought the case in. I'm the lead on this case. I'm also the boss of the firm. and that creates some interesting dynamics because I've learned over time that whenever I'm the lead on a case, it's best for me to do the initial run at the pleadings and then hand it off to the rest of the team and let them finish it without my input. Interference might be a better
Right.
might be a better way to describe it. Well, because the problem is when you're the boss, your suggestions, which are often just simple musings or suggestions, can get confused with orders or commands. And no matter how good of a team you've got, no matter how long you've been together, there's always that. If I say, well, I wonder if we should do that, there's a natural inclination to say yes because I'm the guy in charge.
Right.
And so I've learned over time that the best thing is for me to put together my version of the pleadings, you might say, hand it off to Jim and Carrie particularly. Carrie, of course, is Amazon Prime. Jim, you haven't met Jim yet.
No, I haven't.
But they're both, yeah, we'll have to get that set up. You'd like him. Everybody likes Jim.
That's a good problem to have, I think.
Well, he's one of those just tremendously extremely pleasant and nice. I mean, I've actually been in depositions where people have said to their clients, remember, he's on the other side. I don't care how nice he is. He's not our friend.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little disarming when you have a nice opponent.
Yeah, those kind of people get on my last nerve. Kind of like Vic, right? Vic is a super nice guy. You know, they're really irritating sometimes. But Jim will sit there, you know, be very nice and smile and take his straight razor out and just lop your head off, and you'll be sitting there the whole time going, wow, what a nice guy. Can't believe he's a lawyer. But anyway, Jim is sort of our lead pleadings and trial petition guy. He has I never file anything without Jim doing, you know, without it going through him.
Sure.
Well, so as a result, I got to messing around today, and of course I kept, like you say, when you get into this frothy, fact-intensive case like we're in, when you're putting those pleadings together, it's kind of like a mental game of Tetris. All of a sudden, things start plugging in and coming together. And I had some insights on the timeline, for example, that were in my brain somewhere. But putting it all together, I went, oh, okay, that's how that makes sense. You know, that sort of thing. So that delayed things a little bit. And then when of course we were talking the case through, and this other possibility of putting this other evidence in the pleadings came up, I said, well, we better look at that. So anyway, but I can confirm that I received a text message this evening, as a matter of fact, from the folks who said, yep, we'll get it to you first thing in the morning. So
awesome.
They come, I mean,
I can't wait.
We'll get the evidence no matter what. You know, I can certainly subpoena it from them,
right?
But I prefer them to voluntarily give it to me.
Yeah,
it's obviously good reasons.
Yeah, it's always nice to have cooperation rather than having to get the court to make someone do something.
Right. And this case is a little different too, in that we're going to be on an accelerated calendar once we get moving, because it's packed for our purposes. I mean, once we get this thing going, we want to start doing a lot of things just bam, 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 bam. But usually in litigation, you do these things sequentially. You know, you'll get the pleadings done, then you'll start working on written discovery, then you'll start doing this and that. We're doing all this stuff in parallel right now, so that the minute they answer, you know, we can start moving. That'll be the next timeline wise. What'll happen is we'll file suit sometime this week. I'd be looking for it. I'd be paying attention tomorrow if I were casual observers. But we'll file suit. The other side will respond. They'll have their answer deadline will be the Monday following the expiration of 20 days from the date they are served. Just as we file the suit, we still have to go through the mechanical process of getting them served by our process server. If they're sufficiently motivated, they can dodge the process server for a few days, maybe a week. But in any event, so during that gap period until they answer, we're not going to be doing very much. We'll probably be looking to get a temporary restraining order to stop them from talking. But I'm of two minds about that. Ordinarily you ask for a temporary restraining order because you want the other side to stop doing whatever it is you're complaining of. in the case of the people that we're up against, I'm sort of kind of happy for them to continue to act like idiots.
Yeah, they're not they're not the best about their communications, are they?
No, and so I mean, I've never been in a case before where I actually have said that these people are so egregious in their conduct that it may actually be to our benefit to let them just keep going at it. I don't know. That's a game day decision. But in any event, that's how to go. If I were the other side, I wouldn't be dancing in the end zone and spiking the ball just yet.
Right. So you're saying this is how Bernie can still win.
Yeah. I wouldn't count us out just yet. And of course, everybody needs to remember too, as I've said repeatedly, the first round will only hit certain targets. Iago and Igor, for example, will not be sued this week unless now you know what? Let me say this: it's not my plan to sue them, but I haven't seen this discovery that's coming in. That could theoretically change that attitude, but I'll let you know if that's the case. Once we file suit, once we finally get around to suing them, I will confirm who Iago and who Igor, who their actual identities.
Okay, that'll be exciting.
They're not on the target list. Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll,
at that point, it won't matter.
I think, right. Well, yeah. Anybody that's paying attention will look at it and go, "Oh, yeah, that's who that was."
Yeah, I'm going to guess that several people have figured them out, but I don't know. I've only got my suspicions.
Yeah, no, I've kept that close to the vest. I had several people at Kamehacon even come up and say, "Who's Igor?" And I'm going, "Well, listen, all will be revealed."
Right.
So anyway, well, I'm personally ready to get this on the way. We've been sitting on the launch pad now. Although, it's funny, we haven't been doing this 2 months.
Yeah.
I was putting the timeline together, I told Vic this morning, I was talking on the phone, I said, "You realize I have not even known you 2 full months yet."
Goodness gracious.
And I know. He's like, "Really?" I said, "Yep." And I was looking, because I pointed him out when my notes begin. The first notes I have from my first conversation with him begin, and it's I believe the 21st of February, 20th or 21st of February, something like that. So we've been in a very compressed time frame here.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, often a suit that's very complicated and with multiple defendants like this, you could be sitting and planning for several months before you even are thinking of an order or thinking of a lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're sweating a statute of limitations problem, which I've got in another defamation case I've taken. It doesn't involve a voice actor or anything, but there's someone else that was watching your show, as a matter of fact, in a different industry that called me up. Yeah, we're approaching the other side to see if they'll be intelligent and reasonable and retract. And if they don't, we'll be suing. That particular case will happen a lot faster because we have a statute of limitations problem.
Sure.
They did the same thing that so many people do. They tried to ride it out. Well, of course, every single time something new happens in their business that's successful, these people come out of the woodwork. And with a 2-year statute of limitations, they're going to have to move quicker. But normally, it would not be uncommon at all for us to spend 4 or 5 months putting a petition like this together.
Oh, of course.
With this many parties, this much evidence, and so forth.
One of the chats, actually, this is from Comic Con Freak. He says, "Ty, has this case been the biggest or strangest you've ever taken on? What about all this case stood out to you the most? And thank you for all that you do." So you mentioned that normally in a case, that's complicated like this, have you had bigger cases? I mean, I assume so, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I've had bigger cases, both in terms of a dollar amount. Have I had anything, I've definitely handled more complicated cases and bigger ones. This is easily the weirdest case of the last few years. We've had some very interesting cases over the last 22 years. None come to mind that are stranger and more entertaining. We had One of these days I'll come on your show and tell you about some of the just oddball things, because some of them are legitimately funny.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But I will say this: it's interesting to me in the sense that I had no real awareness of this industry, right? I mean, I'm at best a very marginal anime fan, and fandom in general is something that sort of mystifies me a little bit. It was very, very enlightening to go to Kamehacon this weekend and kind of see it up close. So, no, it's not the biggest or the most complicated. It has been a lot of fun, and I use that word fun guardedly, because you never want to say to someone, "Ooh, I'm having a great time trying to put your life back together after everybody's trying to destroy you."
Right. But there are aspects
of this.
Vic
understands what I'm.
Yeah,
what I'm getting at.
There are aspects of this case, given that one, the very public nature of it, and the fandom being involved, and even the characters, of course, of the show are all characters, right? They're all actors, and there's some of them seem to have a desire to have some bravado and acting going in, like into their how they've approached this case and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting, very weird.
Yeah, weird. Yeah, that's a good. That's a great way. I've never seen businesses run as amateurishly as I've seen in this space. I've never seen legitimate companies that somebody paid a ton of money for make some of the very, in my opinion, very unwise, very unbusinesslike, very emotional, very really, really idiotic decisions that have been made. And I'll be free to talk about a lot of this once we file the suit. One of the things that I have to be careful of, obviously, is I've got until we file the suit, I'm just a private citizen commenting just like you.
Right.
And so I have to, I have to, but I haven't said a thing on your show that I can't prove to be true. I mean, there's nothing, no factual statements I've made have been untrue, none whatsoever. And the opinions I've given, I would almost welcome the opportunity to prove to a court that any rational person with an IQ above, say, 14 would conclude the same thing from the available evidence.
Yeah, that's the really strange thing. And I think the people who haven't come to the conclusion that there's at least, and I'm being charitable here, but at least a meritorious claim from all of this. If you can't get to there, then you just simply don't understand how the law works. And if you can't,
well, you're delusional. It's not just that you understand how the law works; you're delusional. For example, some of the actions of some of the parties we're going to sue internally, one party in particular retorted that, something to the effect of we would not be able to survive the anti-SLAPP statute. And my response to them in writing was something along the lines of, all we have to do is make out a prima facie case, and the implied defamation is the only reasonable implication that one can draw from your statements.
Right.
Yeah, and that's not the standard, right? The standard is any reasonable inference, right?
Yeah, because making
the only reasonable one.
For the audience, making a prima facie case means that prima facie means on the face of it, but when a judge is reading a complaint to determine if there's a prima facie case for what's claimed, they have to read the available facts in the light most favorable to the drafting party. So to the pleading party. So in this case, Ty just has to write out an opinion or a petition that has a factual scenario that leads you to any reasonable possibility of having the cause of action. So in this case, some sort of defamation. He just has to get to the point where any of the ways you could read the statements comes out to defamation. But of course, as you're saying, you certainly want the more ironclad case ultimately. And as you're saying, this is the only way to read that particular statement.
No, I challenged them.
Oh, okay,
I challenged them to give me any. I said, if you have any reasonable inference besides that, please let me know. And of course, I didn't get a word out of them. The analogy would be like this: if I made these statements publicly, I said, I went to Nick's house. I entered Nick's home. I saw him interact with his children. I called CPS because I don't like child abuse. Okay.
Right.
Now, every one of those statements let's say that every one of those statements is true. I came to your house. I watched you interact with your children. I called CPS, and I don't like child abuse. So say all those things are true. Well, I've still defamed you because I've implied that you were abusing your children. Now, if we turn that into sexual abuse, that becomes defamation per se.
Right.
Because sexual assault is treated that way. In other words, you don't have to prove that the statement was defamatory. It's just assumed to be. But the point is that there is no reasonable inference from that statement except that you were abusing your children. There's no other way for a rational person to interpret that series of statements. That's what we're dealing with here. Is not only is the defamation interpretation reasonable, it's the only reasonable.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, you could read it as he came to your house and you had the TV on.
Right. Right.
Or something, right? I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, it gets pretty. So I would say this: I haven't been in too many cases where the other side has behaved as egregiously. In fact, I can't. Again, I'm kind of doing that lawyer thing of hedging my bets when I say it. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. Now I take that back. There was one case where a business dispute between two partners, where one of the partners behaved almost as egregiously.
Sure.
But we got that. But the thing is, we got that settled because once once we went to a mediation and I started turning my cards over. Here's the ace of spades. Here's the king of spades. Here's the queen of spades. Here's the jack of spades. Do you want me to stop?
Yeah.
And we got a very favorable resolution. So yeah, this will be one for the ages. I mean, it's been every year I ask myself when the year begins, I wonder what the oddest thing I'm going to do this year is.
Well, we're kicking you off. We're kicking you off with a contender.
I think this one's definitely going to. I don't know. I don't see anything on the horizon that's going to compete this year, but you never know.
True. There's always. I mean, when the internet is around, there's always possibility.
Yeah.
Okay, so to recap, because some people joined. Actually, we've had a lot of people join from when the call started. But to recap, basically, the suit didn't get filed today. There's some pending discovery that you're waiting to get. Because that when you guys were assessing it, it was something that you decided really should be in the petition. It'll make the petition stronger, and it will
basically at least regarding the parties that it covers, it in itself will. I mean, if I were the other side, I wouldn't even bother with the anti-SLAPP suit, anti-SLAPP strategy,
right?
Because that evidence itself goes way beyond prima facie.
Yeah.
If it is authenticated, and we will pre-authenticate it. That's the other thing. We can't just, for stuff like this, we don't just get it in an email. So and so said blah blah blah. It's send me the electronic file. My IT guy goes in and authenticates it and gives me an opinion and says, "Yep, it's genuine."
Sure.
Or it would require, NSA level computer talent to fake this.
Right.
We're not going to, to be clear, we're not going to wait for this information. If it comes, I'm willing to wait 24 hours, but if for some reason they come up and they say, "No, we just can't turn this over to you after all," we're not going to hold the litigation off to wait on that. But I was certainly willing to give them a little bit of time to come up with it. Plus, like I said, we're still, like I said, you constantly polish these things until finally somebody just says, "Okay, enough is enough. Just get this thing filed."
Right. And the way to be clear to the audience, the way Texas works is it's a state called a notice pleading state, which is
right.
Minnesota is also notice pleading state, and you just have to basically lay the groundwork for a prima facie case in the pleadings, and then later you can add to your argument. You're not limited to what's in the pleadings. So that's
well, yeah, and
that's
you get into some genuine tactical disagreements too. I tend to be like George Patton. I like to just throw everything at the other side in one big blast. Jim and Kerry tend to be a lot more nuanced.
Sure.
And it's very interesting. I mean, we get into this back and forth, and because I do consider them to be extremely competent attorneys, I listen very carefully when they come to me and say, "Boss, we think you ought to do it differently than you want to do it." I usually will stop and go, "Okay, tell me more." And that sort of happened today. It wasn't any. All it was how much of the case do we tip them off in the pleadings? Because, like you said, in Texas, all that's required actually is just that the other side know what you're suing them about.
Right.
That's not very much. That could be a 2-page petition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we want to put a little more than that. I mean, I want there to be enough that when a court reads it, because remember, we may be getting a TRO. You want your pleadings to be sufficiently detailed to support your application for a TRO.
Right.
And so anyway, there's definitely an art form to it, no question. There's not a cookie, at least not the way we do it. And different law firms vary. I've seen, as I'm sure you have, I've seen some pleadings that are so embarrassingly bad that I'm going, I would be ashamed to file this.
Yeah, I need to send you the pleadings in the Maddox case, because not only would you be ashamed to file that, you'd be ashamed to be above ground after filing it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you state things in pleadings that are sloppy,
a TRO is a TRO is a temporary restraining order, guys. Sorry, we're in lawyer acronym land.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's where you basically go in front of the court without the other party present, and you say, for the next 2 weeks, Your Honor, would you tell them to knock this stuff off? And the court will look and say, okay, yay or nay. The court will balance what the harm is. Is there an adequate remedy? If we let them keep doing it and we win the case eventually, will we be compensated adequately? If so, then the judge shouldn't grant it. Nature of defamatory actions, I'd be surprised that the judge wouldn't grant it, because what's the real public policy argument in favor of letting people act like idiots on the internet?
Right. Right. And continually defame someone.
Yeah. But like I said, on the other hand, when you got people who apparently have disconnected their higher reasoning centers of their brain, operating keyboards, I'm genuinely, I'm not being snarky here. I'm genuinely conflicted as to whether or not I want to get a TRO. Clients always want you to get those, and they're very fragile things, TROs. They can be, if the other side wants to put the effort into them, you can get a TRO raised pretty easily by asking for an emergency hearing to lift it and all that. I mean, there can be a lot of activity that goes into sustaining a TRO that may not be worth the expenditure of effort. So I don't know. Like I said, that's a decision, but that decision affects the type of the degree, the depth to which our pleadings go into the specific facts.
Right.
My general strategy is to plead everything under the sun. Then I hand it to Jim and Kerry, and they start polishing it down and getting it into a form that a judge won't actually, pass out from boredom when he's reading it on in the courtroom during a hearing.
Yeah. So you're not dropping him a 70-page.
Well, yeah, all text. Like a forum post. When you're hacking through a forum on the internet, and you see some guy's post that's a solid wall of text, often in all caps. Most people just go, I'm not reading that.
Right.
Judges are the same way.
Yep.
And that's where the art comes into it. And again, like I said, I'm letting them do it. So yeah, if I were the other side, I wouldn't be dancing in the end zone just yet. I might want to consider that, we have as long as 2 years from the time you make the defamatory statement. I promise you it won't take that long, but I'm just saying,
right.
Today I had every intention, and I guess, Nick, I could always use the defense that we're likely to get in this case at some point, and say, well, since I never actually specifically said that we would file today, you had no reason to assume that we would file today, despite the fact that when you said, are you filing today, I just kind of smiled and said, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You never actually said it was going to happen. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
guess
merely acted in such a way that most reasonable people would infer that.
I guess that means that that you win. And that's how this case is going to go too. Since you didn't file today, obviously they win the case, and they should all be very happy.
Obviously,
Yep, because it was against the rules for you
yeah.
to not file. So,
Well,
um,
it's funny because I was thinking to myself tonight. I was sitting back. I was reading "War as I Know It" by George Patton. I just had just been going through my Patton this last 6 months or so, and I was reflecting. I thought, if Patton would have made a pretty good lawyer, except that he wasn't a very patient general. He wanted to do it right now and hit hard and fast and all that, which I really do sincerely understand. But I thought to myself, Patton would never attack the enemy on the very day they expected him to attack. I
right.
mean, he just wouldn't do that. I flatter myself and to compare myself with George Patton, but I mean, that's the thing. But the delay is very, very, very minimal. Like I said, I wouldn't if there have been any wagers made on this, I wouldn't pay those wagers off just yet.
Gotcha.
If I were the parties, I would, and I'm genuinely excited and jazzed up. If the evidence, you hear the thing about evidence is people will say, I've got a text message or an email or something that says blah 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 blah, and we as lawyers often find that they don't actually say that. They not that the person that's giving you the information is lying or anything. I don't mean it that way. They infer, and they don't. Normal people don't really draw the kind of careful, laser distinctions between an actual statement versus an inference that we lawyers have to.
Right.
So I try not to get too excited when someone says I have this evidence, because A, they may never actually get around to turning it over to you. B, when they get it to you, it may not be in a form that you can easily authenticate. C, it may not actually say what they say it says. However, that said, the folks that I'm talking to are highly credible. They have no reason to distort the evidence. It's not. It doesn't behoove them to fabricate or alter any of the evidence. So I'm cautiously optimistic. If it's as good as they think it is, it really could be. You'll have your audience will want to watch your show when you go through it.
Yeah.
Because it'll vindicate so much of what you've been saying.
Yeah, if it's what I think it is, it sounds like it'd be something that'd be hard to mistake too.
Right. No, there won't be. I mean, it'll be one of those things. The other side will have to argue that it's fabricated.
Right.
They won't be able to say, well, that's not a fair reading, because my understanding is it's crystal clear.
Well, and I think based on what transpired, that the reading of it is certainly fair, because it's the way that it was read, right? Like, that's the obvious implication here of what's going on, is that that something, this is a case about people acting based on the words of others. So,
yeah, I mean, this is, to be clear. As you point out in your shows, we have two components of this case, right? We have the defamation, the statements that Vic is a sexual predator, or the statements that strongly imply that. Wholly separate from that are the various types of interference with his business that has gone on.
Right.
Well, the defamation, that pretty much stands on its own. I mean, anybody can read those statements. They're out there. We don't really. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about additional defamatory statements here. We're talking about absolutely, solid, for all practical purposes, if it authenticates out, for all practical purposes, insurmountable evidence of very clear interference.
That sounds
and interestingly
juicy.
enough, by parties that parties that we believe have done it. But I'll be honest, I didn't think we'd get evidence this quickly. I figured we'd have to go through an extended discovery process to get it. So I'm very excited by it. Definitely worth putting off a day or so on the petition to let it develop.
Right.
Because during this 24 hours, we're just polishing and continuing to make incremental, tiny, microscopic improvements. It's you just keep working up on these things. If somebody says enough is enough, let's get this thing filed. And so
right. So recap on that.
Now, all that said, what your audience does to you, my friend, is your business, not mine.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I might have to make it your business. I might have to call up my contacts down in Texas and have them rough you up some.
Send Tony the Nose.
Yeah. That's my brother. What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Reminds me of that episode of Monk one time where they referred to, he was working for a mafia boss, and one of the people was Fat Tony. And he said, so they mentioned Fat Tony. I go, oh, Fat Tony Cabuzzo or Fat Tony the So? There are like 3 or 4 different Fat Tonys.
Yeah. Okay, so recap. They didn't happen today. Probably in the next day or so here, we'll see something.
Yeah.
And as soon as they do, I'll be procuring the documents. I can't get them from you, which is annoying.
That's right.
But I will get them through the appropriate channel, and we will be reading them. Can you answer some chats if we go ahead? There've been several questions for you. So.
Heck yeah.
Okay, so Mythos Irving says, great title, Nick. Oh, thank you. Thank you to my art guy. Thank you, Ty Beardius, the one true emperor, for putting lying, slanderous mobs in their place. # fear the beard. # blood for the blood god and skulls for the skull throne. So that was for you.
These skulls may actually, instead of silver, we may actually coat these skulls in gold, depending on how good this evidence is.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Ink Penification says, "Hey Ty, since you're a military nerd, watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes. It's a space opera anime about a war between a monarch state and a democracy state, and the theme is about what type of state you would want." So there's that.
I'm I'll be honest. I'm struck sometimes by how sophisticated these anime plot lines seem to be.
Oh, don't be fooled. Most of them are trash.
Well, that sounds pretty sophisticated anyway. I mean, once you get past the whole battleship flying through space thing.
Well, yeah. No, that one, Legend of the Galactic Heroes is, from what I hear, it's a very good one. There's just, for every good anime.
Legends of the Galactic Heroes. Okay.
Yeah. For every good anime, there's the rest of them. Eldon Myers says, the Emperor may protect, however, retaining Primarch Ty Beard is a sure way to win you a legal crusader too. Lil Poo Poo says, Ty, we are not mad, just very disappointed. The love you saw and experienced for Vic and yourself at KamehamehaCon is only the tip of the iceberg on how fans feel. Keep up the fight to bring justice for all. So there you go.
Count on it.
We've got Siren Jag says, kidney stone abortion is scheduled at 9 a.m., man. Oh, my goodness. Good luck, buddy. Don't try to stop me. It's my body and my choice. Don't protest outside the clinic with your signs either. I don't know why you're so upset. It's not like you're the Stone's father. No, I'm glad not to be.
Noted. Yeah, that's another one. Yes.
Mythos Irving said, could you read my chat for Ty? I did. I believe I just did, didn't I? Mythos? Isn't that the first one? Yeah, that was the first one.
Send another $20. Send another super chat to confirm that you in fact did.
No.
Oh, good.
No.
Okay.
I was just making sure, but yeah, that was the first one we read. Combiner says, rest in peace, Gene Wolfe. You will be sorely missed. So there, R.I.P. Gene Wolfe. I'm not sure who that is. Gay and Still at Large says, Mr. Beard, I regret to inform you that in my expert opinion, this lawsuit is now legally latent gay. So that's how it goes when you miss a deadline on the internet. That's what happened.
That's right. Yeah. Well, once you've disappointed the interwebs, you're
right.
It's over.
Reaver Barash asks, Nick, who is a bigger creeper, Russell Greer or the Twitter flock of jackwagons? Russell Greer will be a bigger creeper than the rest of the earth. So he still wins. Coolman229 says, Ty, I have to ask. I know Nick sent it to you, but did you see Fist of the Beard Star?
Yes, yes. I've lost track of all the cool stuff people have done and things. Oh, by the way, Nick, I want to give a shout out to anybody, to someone. Let's see if I can find it. I received one of the generous little gifts that I was given was a challenge coin by someone. Military units will create their own little coins, and there's a whole elaborate mythology behind those things. But my understanding is that if a challenge coin is produced in a bar and you can't produce yours, you wind up embarrassed and have to buy the drinks. So I'd like to make a shout out, if I might.
Yeah, of course.
Let me see here. To the 307th Civil Engineer Squadron, U.S. Air Force, stationed at Barksdale Air Force Base. One of your members was so gracious to give me a challenge coin from your unit, which, you know, these things are not given to mere mortals. So I do appreciate that. I met him at Kamehacon. He was a fan of Vic's, and you know, and gave both myself and Vic one. But anyway, just wanted to shout that out.
Well, that's awesome.
Oh, and
yeah.
The gentleman who gave me the Thomas More necklace, very nice too. I appreciate that.
Sir Thomas More.
Yeah.
He's the worst lawyer on the planet, though.
Well,
if he was a good lawyer, If he was a good lawyer, he'd be alive, right?
But he would have recanted his Catholicism as the flames licked ever higher. I would think if he were a lawyer.
Yeah.
But in any event, it was a very touching and moving gesture.
Yeah. No, I kid about Sir Thomas More. The Man for All Seasons is really, it's a good flick.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the gift was accepted humbly and with great appreciation.
Well, very, very, very cool to see you guys getting some good love from the fans. Let's see.
Good bling, fan bling.
Right. Dog Beerus says, Nick and Ty, when the Kick Vic people finally get served, do you think they'll be as shocked as I was in 1998 when the Undertaker threw Mankind off Hell in a Cell and plummeted 16 feet through an announcer's table? Yes, I think they will.
I'm going to dissent. I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to realize the reality until they spend about 6 hours in a deposition with the Amazons.
Right. Yeah, it's all pretend.
It's been my experience that, well, it's anticlimactic, right? You know, you sit there, all of a sudden, you've been sued. Well, really all that means at that moment is some big guy with a badge shows up at your doorstep and has you sign for a stack of papers.
Right.
It doesn't get real until you have to sit in a room under oath, being videotaped by a court reporter, and your testimony taken down, while a hostile lawyer asks you very uncomfortable questions that you have to answer. You know, you don't get to say that's my story and I'll tell it when I want. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You'll either answer the questions, or the opponent will terminate the deposition, file a motion with the court, and the court will sanction you and order you to answer those questions under oath.
Yeah, you'll have to warn the Amazons for the what is surely going to be a frequently stated answer at deposition, which is, well, no, but there are 30 other women willing to testify.
Yeah, that's the third time they say that. I think we're going to object to it. Well, of course, we will object to it being non-responsive, and if necessary, I'll have one of them keep a stopwatch on it, and we'll petition the court to get that time back, and they'll grant it.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of it's just going to be, I always feel terrible when I see believe it or not, even when when it's our opponents, you're in a deposition, you ask somebody a question, and they get that look on their face, and they glance over involuntarily to their counsel, and you can see it on their face. Do I have to answer this? And the counsel just impassively looks straight ahead.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, does that mean that the counsel didn't tell them? I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
I think probably what's more likely is the counsel told them, they didn't hear it, or they didn't listen to it, or they didn't believe it.
Right.
We of course, before our clients go into a deposition, we'll have prepped them. We'll sit down and ask them everything that we think the other side might ask, and we'll go back and forth so that they're not caught off guard, that they know it's coming, and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a sleazy tactic by any means. It's efficient.
Right.
It allows our client to answer the questions and get the deposition over with. But yeah, it's often a very unnerving situation for people who are not acting the way they ought to, because they'll just sort of get that look of like, do I have to answer that? And the counsel just kind of,
yes.
There's nothing he can say.
Yeah.
You either, and a lot of times, they'll object to form, which is one of the form of the question. And, that's often very counterproductive in its own right. Objection form, that often throws their own client off more than it throws us off. We get to a point where we don't even hear it because you still have to answer the question.
Right. It's
and that objection is.
They should just lodge the objections afterwards. They should
I agree.
They should just get to go through and line up the transcript with it. We object to all these questions with a red hash next to them.
Well, when you're reading the written transcript, the objection to form crap breaks up the narrative in the transcript. It's not a big deal. You just simply mark it out. You ellipses it out. But I need to talk to Senator Hughes maybe next time he goes through session about amending the rules of civil procedure, just to make that an objection that can be raised at any time, so it doesn't have to be actually lodged. It would make depositions go faster, and anything that makes those things go smoother is probably a good thing.
Well, and if I were an attorney in Texas, which I'm not, so I can say this, is I would prep my client that anytime I say object to form, for them to really think about how they're going to answer that particular question. I mean, you use it as a cue, because otherwise you can't give them a cue.
The thing is, because the vast majority of suits in every state, but Texas is no exception, most people don't realize the vast majority of lawsuits, something like 95%, eventually settle.
Right.
These objections, 19 times out of 20, are utterly academic. And even when they're not academic, you're not going to win the case based on the purpose of a deposition is to pin down the other side's testimony as early as possible. That's the way we use it.
Right.
Because once you say it in a deposition, you're going to be in deep kimchi if you try to say something different on the stand.
Mm-hmm.
So most of those objections are pointless as a practical matter. I almost never object to anything spuriously, because I don't have any use for it. I'm too busy trying to win the case, and playing little chicken shit games over objections is not really. Not one time have I ever turned to my colleagues and said, "Oh my God, they objected to form. We're dead."
Well, over the past 2 nights, I've read three they were videotape deposition transcripts. In this other Texas case that involves tortious interference.
I'll tell you, because I'm working on this other case, I haven't been able to listen to any of that. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's a case that I think you'd really find a lot of interest in. It's about comic books. It's the funniest, most obvious tortious interference there is, with some sprinkling of some really strong defamation that was written down on easily provable statements. And reading through the deposition, it's like, oh my God, this guy just he just hung himself. I mean, just clear as day. There's no way they get to argue against the statements that he made. And he's like affirming that he believed the defamatory statements to be true and that he definitely said them, and clarifying. This is the best part. So he's just a brief background. He's at a comic convention, and he's doing a panel. And in the panel, he refers to these groups of people who are harassing and going after other people, right? So he refers to these groups, and that was loud.
Sorry, I was getting an apple.
No, that's fine. It was just like, whoa, this is pretty loud. Anyway, so he's referring to groups of people causing this harassment and doing all this stuff. And the other attorney asks him, now, when you say groups of people, you're really talking about the plaintiff, aren't you? And he says, well, yeah, groups of people, the plaintiff, yeah, those two are interchangeable in my speech. That he flat out says it.
Oh, good God.
And it's like, you just doubled the amount of defamatory statements you made. What were you doing?
The lawyer's over there going, shoot me.
Yeah.
Either that or thank God I got my retainer paid up front.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Mm.
Well,
It's that's a bad one. The yeah.
Well, as bad as that is, I may have already told you this on the show. I can't remember. As bad as this is, it can always be worse. I was in a case one time where we were representing the gold digger in a divorce, and our opponent, who's a mentor of mine, actually, just a mean old competent trial lawyer, gets up and says, "Miss So and So, how many times you been married?" She goes, 4. No, 5. And she counts out.
Oh no!
Comes out on her head. 6. I looked over at my colleague, and he just kind of shook his head and said, "Ah, crap."
Yeah.
So as bad as it is, it can actually be worse.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
I was a consultant on that case. I wasn't actually the lead,
lead counsel.
They brought me into, my area of expertise was, the income tax filings that the couple had made.
Sure.
And all that. So that was my particular role. I looked over at the main lawyer, and he just had this stricken look on his face, like, crap.
Yeah, I'm losing this case real quick.
Well, so, I try hard not to laugh at other lawyers when they have that happen, because the bell can toll for you too.
Yes, of course, and in the criminal world, that's where I always get the fun things where. Usually it's before I get in touch with my client, where I'm reading what they said to a police officer, or I'm listening to them say it in the recording, and I'm like, oh my God, why were you even? Well, I had one client who was like sitting there admitting to marijuana use and stuff like that. And then the cop's like, why did you tell us? He actually asked him, why did you tell us about all the marijuana stuff? He's like, well, you guys are looking for meth, right? It's like, no.
Wrong answer. Wrong freaking answer.
So, okay. So I've got a couple more here. Blaine 20 says, I hope a judge grounds them from using the internet. That'd be good. Jesse N says, Mr. Beard, did you hear about connections between what is going on with a person in Crunchyroll as part of #WomenInAnime trying to purge certain voice actors from the industry? You don't need to comment. I guess they want to make you aware of that.
What's it called? Crunchyroll again?
Crunchyroll is it's an anime streaming service that you can subscribe to. And they have it on your basic array of TV connected devices, like the Amazon Fire Stick and stuff. You can get a Crunchyroll app, or it's a website, and watch anime through it. There's been a big thing going on. They took on the show called like High Guardian Spice, which is all of the worst parts of American modern cartoons rolled into one horrific feminist thing. So they did that, and ever since then, there's been this #WomenInAnime movement, and they are alleged to be part of some campaign to purge a specific set of voice actors. I think Vic was actually on the top of that list, but it all goes into all of this stuff, this conspiracy, civil conspiracy stuff, and it seems very likely to me that some of the evidence of that will come out in discovery. But the stuff I've heard from behind the scenes anyway. Okay, so Short Round says, Ty, I need a number for Fear the Beard patches for your office. Tell Nick. Oh. So you can just tell me in private, and I can get the message to him.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he says,
I'll tally him up.
He says, also, some coasters and a custom bottle of Jack Daniels is coming for you and Nick. Ooh. Wow, thank you.
Well, I hope you get the coasters and I get the Jack up,
Well, yeah, mine will last longer.
There you go.
He says, #Revenge of the Beard coming soon. Something special for the Amazons too. So that's very cool.
Okay.
I'm Justin Y, and I post Pointless Trash. Says, who sues Shane for his lactose-infected imbibation crimes and his wanton abuse of poor seating structures? Hopefully someone. The funny
denying him denying him the attention is perhaps the most devastating thing you can do to a guy like that.
Yeah, I think the problem with Shane is that he's not actually important enough to be involved in any of this, and that's really sad to me.
It's killing him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably sadder for him than me, but only just barely. The Texan 83 says,
Oh yeah, well no, it's not out of any great love for him that I say these things. It's just yeah. He's a tertiary party to this, at least so far.
Right. The Texan 83 says, glad I didn't go ahead and bet Shane a bite of shoe on the suit being filed today, because unlike him, I pay my debts and I'm not entirely keen on chewing a piece of leather work boot. That doesn't sound fun. We've got, okay, I know there's a couple more that I'm getting to here. Keck7Go says, woo, Ty is a blowhard who has his head shoved so far up his own butt. Also, he was really breathing really heavily into the mic at first, and it's a nitpick, but it just skeeved me out. That's a quote. And Keck is...
sorry about that.
No, that's not... No, not you. You didn't quote that. No, Keck7Go is quoting that, and he says, hi, Pull, which is Pretty Ugly Little Liars. Good morning to y'all. Pull is a funny website where they have a habit of routinely saying that they're not going to follow anything anymore and they're not going to watch me because I'm so awful, and yet they post about me a whole lot, which is great.
Well, Nick, they got a crush on you, man.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. One of them on me would be a crush for sure. I'd be done. Shadow Planer says, Mr. Beard, can we get your autograph for posterity without being sued?
Sure.
Okay, and then 505 Zoom says, Ty, is there anything that scares you about this case? These guys talk like you have no case. Is there any merit from their side?
That's a fair question, and it's a good question. Nothing that they've turned up. You never know. I mean, you can't quantify every possibility. There's always the possibility of something out there. Here's what gives me comfort, though. If they had anything damning, they had every incentive imaginable to come forward with it.
Right.
They have nothing to gain by hiding it. Nobody in the real world would sit back and go, hey, I'll wait till he sues me and then I shall strike.
Right.
That's just not how it works.
The ideal.
Plus, these folks were not at all. They hit Vic with everything under the sun as it is. So while I would acknowledge the possibility, the probabilities just don't seem to be there.
Yeah.
What would shut us up faster than a video of Vic actually doing some of the stuff he's been accused of? We've been assured that those videos exist. Yet what we've seen when they've come out has been laughably.
I
saw
one.
So absurd to characterize that as assault.
Yeah.
It's like, you've got to be kidding. That really is the best you got?
Yep. Yeah, they're of course hilarious. And if your goal is to do what has happened to Vic, the way to cement the deal is to produce the video, to produce the evidence that they've all been sitting on, while being fully able or fully willing to just rail off accusation after accusation. And
to fabricate evidence in some cases.
Right, to fabricate evidence, to lie about threats, to do all of this stuff. But yet all they'd have to do is put out one shred of actual evidence, and it would it could shut the lawsuit down. It could shut everything down.
Yeah.
It would turn people against him very quickly too, I believe.
And of course that would also have to, not only would they have to have that kind of evidence, but that would also mean that my read and the read of every member of my team about Vic would have to be 180 degrees wrong. And I'll freely admit that I can be wrong about somebody. I'm generally speaking, I'm not, but it could happen. But the odds of every single member of my team independently being wrong about him, that starts to approach impossibility, right? So am I worried about the case? Only in the most theoretical sense. You always worry about the unknown. If you're a good lawyer, you always constantly say, what have I overlooked? What have I, and the day before and the days before you file pleadings, at least with me, I was telling somebody, we all have these nightmares that we have typically, like, you're in public in your underwear or without your clothes or whatever. And for lawyers, there's one that I have that a lot of lawyers have told me they have, where you dream that you're still in law school. You're about to take an exam in a class that you've never been to. You're trying to explain that no, wait a minute, I've graduated, I've passed the bar exam, and everybody, you got to take this class. But I have another recurring nightmare that happens occasionally. I had it in this case over the weekend. Just, I say nightmare. It's not, you don't wake up screaming or anything, but I'm polishing up the final pleadings to get ready to file on a huge case that, it's just, the stakes are limitless, and controversy is huge. And I find some devastating, crippling flaw in our case that I never thought of until right at the moment I'm about to file.
Right.
And of course, in the dreams, you never really, dreams are, they're kind of flaky anyway. You never really actually know what the flaw is. But in the dream, I'm reading the pleadings, and I see it in the pleading, but I don't know what. But it usually wakes me up. I usually wake up and go, "Oh, that was weird." So yeah, there's always that theoretical possibility. You guard against that by simply, trying your level best to see the case as objectively as possible. One of the reasons why I like having a team of highly capable lawyers is we can cover each other's blind spots. I happen to like Vic a lot. That certainly could affect my objectivity.
Right.
I'd be shocked if it didn't. Well, we have, Jim's never met Vic. He's not, he's kind of vaguely aware of what Vic does for a living, and he's aware of the case. But Jim's one of my closest friends, and he would say to me by this point, Ty, you've gotten personally compromised in this case. You're not seeing this thing objectively. And of course, if he ever did that, I would stop and go, holy crap, because Jim wouldn't say something like that unless it were absolutely true. So that's how you guard against it. You just have multiple eyes looking over it. So no, I at this point, there's nothing specific I can come up with. All I know is the other side has confidently assured us throughout this case they've got all this devastating, overwhelming evidence. And at the end of the day, they haven't come up with anything new since I got involved in this case.
Well,
all we've heard is just a bunch of blowing and puffing.
Based on their statements and assessments that they make on Twitter all the time, I'm confident that they believe that they have something in this case, but I'm confident that they have no idea how ineffective whatever evidence they're going to try to provide will have, because they consistently demonstrate that they don't understand what is even actionable and what the cause of action would be. So they don't they have evidence of something, I guess, in their mind, but it's not evidence of.
They probably have been.
I
think they've been overly literal. They've been overly literal, and again, this part of this is what happens when you don't have legal counsel. And yet, I've also heard attorneys make the same mistake in other contexts. But when you hear the truth is a defense, well, yes, that's true, but you have to be careful to understand what truth we're talking about. And I go back to my analogy that I made, the sample statement of where I entered Nick's home, I watched him interact with his children. I left, I called CPS because I don't approve of sexual abuse of children. Okay? Every one of those statements could be true, and yet that group of statements is defamation per se, implied defamation and defamation per se.
Right.
Because you have to prove the truth of the implication. It's not sufficient to prove that the actual statements were technically accurate. You've got to prove that what you implied in those statements is true, and that's something they can't do. Because at the end of the day, he's not a sexual predator.
Right, and they just had to use sexual predator over and over. Some of them have used the actual term sexual assault, which is a defined statutory term there in Texas and has a very specific meaning. And is
one of the tweets, at least several of the tweets out there, stated sexual assault under the law. Stuff like, I mean, they made statements of that the law said what he did was sexual assault.
Right.
And of course, what is fascinating about this whole process has been, even if you assumed the allegations were accurate, which they aren't, but even if you assume they are, there's no sexual assault under Texas law.
Yeah, nothing even close to it.
The jelly bean incident.
I don't know if anybody knows that story. I was going to tell it when you leave.
Okay, well, you tell it when leave, because that way, that'll be in the pleadings. But yeah, I mean, when you read our petition, I fully expect that one of the first reactions is going to be, "You've got to be kidding! This is what they're saying is sexual assault."
Yeah, I think the chat's really going to like the jelly bean story tonight.
Yeah, and guys, I promise you, it is nowhere near as creepy as it sounds. It's just going to be like, really?
No, let them stew on it. Let them think about. You guys go ahead and try and figure out what you think the jelly bean story is.
Play a game of that. Think of what the jelly bean story could possibly be, and be prepared for one massive letdown when Nick explains it. But I mean, that's the thing, So, I don't know a lot of it's just false bravado. Mouthy people who they actually thought they were going to get away with this.
Yep.
They genuinely believed that he would roll over, that his fans would rally behind them, because after all, they are the they're the beacons of truth and justice in this world. They are brave warriors fighting against the horrible oppression of something or another. And it didn't happen. And so a lot of this is bravado and this mouthy nya stuff, none of that really matters in the courtroom. The fact of the matter is, we could, if we wanted to, we're not going to do this, but we could wait for 20 months before filing suit, and we would get the same exact legal remedies that we're going to be getting a lot sooner than that. It just doesn't, it doesn't. These things don't work on your time frame. That's the other thing too, is these people have driven the narrative so much. They've had what a general would say. They've had the initiative through this process until very, very recently.
Right.
And they don't understand that they're stepping off of the Twitter battlefield, such as it is, into a completely different environment where grown-ups call the shots.
Right, and where the rules aren't the rules aren't skewed towards a social agenda. The rules are set for a just agenda.
That's right, and they apply more or less. I mean, as best we can as a society, they apply equally. And your status as an aggrieved party has no effect on how the rules are applied. The rules are applied impartially. It's the old statute, the blind, justice holding the scales and a blindfold.
Right.
Anybody that think that is going to get involved in something like this ought to muse over the meaning of that classic expression of justice. It's blind. It doesn't care what color you are, what gender you are, what your grievance is. None of that matters. Hey, these people, I guess these people don't realize that human beings have dealt with things like bias and status and that kind of thing throughout human history. But none of this is new.
Right. Yeah, nothing new
That's
under the sun.
That's why we have nothing, absolutely nothing. Their political correctness in one form or another has been with the human race ever since we started talking. And our justice systems are the result of thousands of years of human beings trying to figure out the most equitable way to resolve disputes between parties.
Mm-hmm.
And to anybody with an IQ higher than 14, it should be patently obvious that the fact that you are, and I'm not picking on women, I'm just using this as an example. The fact that you are a woman does not mean that your evidence gets any more credence than anybody else's.
Right.
It stands on its own.
Yeah, that works on Twitter. It doesn't work in the law.
Uh-huh. Well, many years ago when I was on Usenet and stuff, I remember saying any number of times to somebody, 2 + 2 is 4, even if a Nazi says that.
Yeah.
Or even if a racist says it.
Right.
The objective truth isn't affected by your judgment of the qualities of the person asserting the truth, and so I think these people have spent their whole lives living in a world where they're, hold on.
Ooh.
Anyway, these people have spent their lives in a world where they just, they get to, it matters, but it doesn't matter at the courthouse.
Right.
At
right.
the courthouse, it's what you can prove. It doesn't matter in theory. It doesn't matter who you are. It matters what you can prove.
Well, let me read these last couple chats that are for you, and then I'll let you go so I can tell that jelly bean story and some other stuff.
Okay.
So.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm Justin Y, and I post pointless trash. Says tortious interference is my spirit animal. Also, wrench me, Nick. I wish to see my name in blue. You got it, pal. You got it. Happy to do so. Ninja Breadman says hello, Mr. Beard. Thanks for defending Vic. Thanks for coming on to Nick's streams, and also for showing your nerdy side. Also, no need to comment, but have you heard that the Rooster Teeth president has stepped down? So.
No, I'd not heard that.
Yeah, just happened in the last couple days here. So the CEO of Rooster Teeth or president or whatever is out. So that's
interesting.
I don't know if that changes your team's perspective on anything, but you'll have to see. You'll have to look into it.
We will.
Morty Vite says, "What's the difference between Shane and a bucket of manure?" The bucket is gross. Let's see. There was one or two other ones real quick. I've got to find them. Oh no. It might be hard for me to do this. Well, because I go by amount, and these were okay. Bamboo Shoots asked Ty, what do you think of Rooster Teeth CEO stepping down? So we just kind of covered that in a separate one.
No comment right now.
Right, yeah, no comment. And, okay, Sevi Rock says, I think you would enjoy Gunbuster, Mr. Beard. It's heavily inspired by Yamato and the Forever War. It's about a young woman avenging her father. Hard to find, though. So there you go. There's an anime recommendation for you.
What's it called again? I'm going to write that down.
Gunbuster.
Gunbuster, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird Japanese
well,
name. And... okay, we are in the end game now. Says, hey, Nick, someone asked you to have Anime AJ on your stream so he could give a more competent argument against Vic. Here's the argument. Please read on stream. Well, I don't know if I want to read his argument on stream. Yeah, I'll have to see. I'll do that later, maybe. No, I'll have to read through it and look and see if it would fit into a show. I'm not going to just read it right now. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter. I can't stress that enough. At this point, we're at the spot where the damage has been done to Vic by a set of people. And that set of people has built their case on a set of false statements. And those false statements... And those accusations, and then the things that they did to try and affect his career, those are what's on trial. That's it. That's it. That's what's on trial.
Yeah, we're not litigating Vic. We're litigating the actions of his accusers. That's what is being that's the case here.
Yeah, a bunch of. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, in clever bullshit arguments, again, back in the court, every lawyer, anybody that can go to law school and pass the bar exam can make all kinds of specious, clever arguments. Clever arguments don't win lawsuits. What win lawsuits are the facts and the law.
Right. And there's this perception that all of the things that have ever been said about Vic are going to be on trial, and all of the arguments that could ever be made about Vic are going to be made in the trial, and that's just not true.
Well, it's not relevant.
Right.
I mean, that legally speaking, so much of what is being said about Vic simply isn't relevant. and so you can say all you want to say it, but it's not going to get to a jury.
Right. Right.
Our system allows the jury to only hear things that are relevant legally to the case. Not every single thing you think you want somebody to hear. You have no right to require the jury to hear your bullshit.
Right. You have to. It has to be probative.
That's right. That's right.
I'm Justin Y, and I post Pointless Trash. Says buy Vic and Ty an ice cream. Well, I will next time I see them.
All right.
Speaking of which, I've got one last question for you. Then I'll let you go. This is from me.
Sure.
Rumor has it you're maybe
Do
going.
I get $20 for the super chat?
I'll think about.
Just kidding.
I'll think about it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Rumor has it you're going to be potentially going to Anime Matsuri down in Houston. Is that?
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on it. But obviously I have to coordinate that with family and stuff. But yeah, I want to.
Oh, good. Well, if you do, let me know so I can make sure and run into you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, it sounds like something that is pretty epic. I mean, even if you're not really an anime person, it sounds like something that'd be worth seeing.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about it too. Like looking at it, it's just such a big, production that it's something I want to see.
Yeah.
And I like the city of Houston, even though it's laid out like a nightmare.
No zoning.
Right. Okay, and finally, TLJ Screwjob says, also, what are the chances Nick and Ty of Toye or someone else pulling a Wade and interrupting the deposition, getting reamed by Ty or one of the Amazons? Okay, so in the deposition I was reading yesterday, they were deposing a third party, okay? And the plaintiff's attorney was asking the questions of the third party, and the defendant answered one of them in the deposition. Or I shouldn't say he answered. He made a comment. His comment was "yeah," like that. And then immediately the plaintiff's attorney says, "Let's go off record, please."
Yeah. That's usually how you handle that.
Yeah, and then
now that said, we have had a fist fight in deposition in our firm as recently as 6 months ago. So.
Well, that's people don't like getting asked those tough questions. They don't like getting asked those.
No,
tough
they don't.
questions.
But I can tell you one thing. If throwing a tantrum would get you out of a deposition, they wouldn't be worth very much, would they?
Right.
The typical solution there is if the lawyers can't work it out, the court is going to hammer somebody into the pavement.
Yep.
Because the judges don't like that.
And it's the person throwing the tantrum 99% of the time.
0.99999%, yeah.
Yeah.
I would rank the odds as pretty low. I think most people, once they get into these things, they don't realize how intimidating they are until they're actually in them. And some of the loudest, most in-your-face people will be just the meekest, humblest people once a deposition gets going. Usually, these things have a life of their own. But they come in pretty smarmy and arrogant, and they try to play cute little word games. And it takes about 5 minutes to illustrate to them that you're going to have to answer this question. I'll keep asking it until either you answer it or I get tired, at which point we go off the record and I ream your lawyer out.
Right.
And threaten to go to the principal.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell mom.
Well, the thing is, you have no defense, right? I mean, how do what is your defense to a judge? You can't go to a judge and say, Your Honor, my client refused to answer those questions because he didn't want to answer those questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Judge is going to say, answer the questions or you'll have a contempt order coming.
Well, answer the questions on pain of contempt and pay Mr. Beard's legal fees for having to waste the court's time and his time to come up here to get you, to force you to do something that you're obliged to do already by law anyhow.
Right.
And boy, people don't like to pay lawyers. They really don't like to pay the other side's lawyers.
Nope, not at all.
Well,
all right, sir. I think I should let you buzz off because I've got a jelly bean story to tell and a preview of some lawsuits to give out, because I gave a preview, several weeks ago, but we've learned a bunch of stuff since then. I mean, so I'm going to kind of recap that for the audience here, so they can see what to expect.
I sadly will not be able to listen. I've got to be in the office at 4 because I have a whole different case I got to do some work on first thing in the morning. But
well, get
anyway,
out of here.
Good to talk to you as always. And for your audience, I'm sorry to disappoint everyone for failing miserable to lose the suit by not filing today. But this too shall pass. We shall find some way to soldier on.
Some way this can be salvaged. Some way.
Somehow I think we probably can.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right. We'll see you later, buddy.
Y'all have a good one.
Yep.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so that was the beard. Woo! For those of you who may have missed it, the recap is, they're getting everything ready. It's basically ready to go. However, there's a set of discovery things, some sort of items of discovery that have come to their attention and should be put into the lawsuit. But they have to make sure that they're. Why is my camera not focused at all? They have to authenticate it, and if they're authentic, and if it's what they believe they are, it's apparently very, very devastating. So we'll have to look for those in the suit. But he said it should be hopefully in the next day or so. They're gunning for tomorrow, but it always depends on how everything works out. So, we'll keep watch, but I wanted to recap. I wanted to recap what we've got, what I think is going to happen, some information that you guys don't know. This is going to be the Jelly Bean incident, and this is going to be something else. And let me tell you where they're from, because we're going to get to them in a minute. Let me tell you where they're from. They're from the actual investigation from Funimation. So, I've got 2 stories from the actual investigation into Vic Mignogna. And I'm going to tell you these 2 stories, and then you guys are going to get to decide if you think that there's something to it. Okay? We're going to tell you, one of the stories I'll tell you in great detail. The other, I have to kind of obscure some things and give you kind of an overview of it. That story, you don't really need a lot of details because the overview of that story is sufficient to note its value. The Jelly Bean story requires a little more detail. And so I'm going to tell you that story, and that's how that's going to go. Okay. And you guys will get to determine it. Now I'll give it as much detail as I can. And this stuff is going in the pleadings. This will be public information. It's already public information. I have multiple sources on this story as well. So we'll do that. But I have to do something awful to you. It's because I've been sucking. My throat is dry. My eyes are dry. And I've been drinking down. I drank this Propel, and I'm like half of a tea in. I've got to go to the bathroom. I hate it, guys. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back. And then we'll get right into this story. All right, sorry about that, guys. Sorry. I'm gonna have to do a GoFundMe to get plumbing into the vault and hang a urinal under my desk or something. Oh my goodness. Or maybe I should set up I could do an ad read for the GoFundMe or something and play that every time I have to leave the stupid desk, which I try to never do. So I apologize. Okay, let's get into this. Let's talk about the story we have so far, going into the lawsuits. And what I want to do is I want to lay out kind of a rough timeline of actions, because I think laying out this timeline, and as we go through that timeline, I'm going to try and set up, you know, any stories that go with that. Okay. So, I will try and do that. All right. Now, many of you are going to automatically kind of question where I start this timeline, because in any story, right, there's the pre-beginning, and so yes, I'm going to start the story at the Broly release date. Okay, I'm going to start the story on January 16th, the release date of Broly, because I know that there's a list, I know that there's other stuff going on prior to that, but I'm going to start it on January 16th on the release date for Broly, okay? Because this is where I believe the legally relevant stuff kind of starts, all right? And yes, I washed my hands. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is where I believe the legally relevant story starts. And as we go, like as I get to the investigation and stuff like that, I'm going to talk to you about that. Okay, and as we get to like Kamehacon, I'll tell a little side story as we go. So just hang out with me. I need some dimming lights, right? Like we get some mood lighting in here. We get talking real slow. We can tell story time. We'll do that at some point in the future. I don't know. They're fluorescents. I don't know how to do that. Maybe they have dimmers. Okay. Wooten says Nick confirmed #Bean Daddy. Thank you. Okay, so here's what we've got. Here's the story so far. January 16th, Broly is released. On January 16th, you have a tweet from Hanleia. And it says, I'm not going to pull all these up. That'd be a disastrous nightmare, and I'm not prepared for that. This is story time. Tweet from Hanleia that basically says it's time to talk about Vic Mignogna. Now, for Hanleia, it's been time to talk about Vic Mignogna all the time, for a very long time, for God knows why. But it was, again, so it was just a day that ends with Y for Hanleia. It was time to talk about Vic Mignogna. And that had nothing to do with the Broly movie coming out at all. So she makes a post about the sexual predatory behavior of Vic Mignogna. And now, of course, the post is vague. The post is pointless. But it gets a bunch of likes and retweets eventually. Eventually, it does. And people point to that post as being the kickoff moment. But I think the real kickoff, which retroactively made that post important, is that the next day Mars Girl retweets it. And then Mars Girl goes ahead and adds her bit to the story. And she talks about talking to her contacts at Funimation. She talks about just accidentally creating a hashtag. I don't know. She's not good at this, but hashtag kick Vic or something. Maybe like whatever. We'll do that. So Mars Girl throws that out. Now, is Mars Girl important? I mean, not on her own. Not ever. Not ever on her own has Mars Girl been considered important. Mars Girl is always important because someone else has done something to help out. So, Mars Girl is unimportant, but creates this thing, and what kicks off Mars Girl's influence, And what makes this matter is Monica Rial, Jamie Marchi liked that post. Liking that post is a signal boost. Yada, yada, yada. This thing starts to build. And you can watch that in real time, or you could have watched that in real time. This thing starts to build up. People start talking about it more and more, and very quickly, Vic is dropped from a convention. First one. And I'm not sure of the exact date, but I believe it was on January 18th that Vic was dropped from one convention, maybe two, but one specifically. And then over the next couple days, two more conventions would drop him. So he gets dropped from 3 to 4 conventions pretty early on. Now this is very curious, because this is before Funimation has done anything internally. But who knows why those conventions dropped him? We don't know specifically why he would have been dropped at the time he was. There could have been something else. Don't know. Doesn't really matter. Not talking about these conventions. This is just a timeline. A few days later, and most of you don't know this, but I do, and I'm going to tell you now. A few days, maybe a week later, I don't remember the exact date. We'll find out when the suit is filed, the exact date of this, because this is I believe this is part of it. I mean, I believe this is actually in the pleadings, and so we'll see it right away. That's what I mean, is obviously part of it. Funimation starts its internal investigation into Vic. Okay? So that happens a few, like a week after that first convention drops him. We're talking somewhere the mid-20s, 25th, 26th, 27th, something like that. This is the investigation into Vic. And there are a couple stories from that investigation. There are three stories from that investigation. I don't know what all is going to be included anywhere. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you one, because I'm not going to. And I'm going to be very, very loose on the other one, because I'm not going to. But let me tell you what's not in these two stories. Okay? What is not in these two stories is anything like sexual harassment or sexual assault. Nothing even close to that is in those two stories. All right? So here's the vague one that I can tell. The vague one is that after basically courting a coworker for something like, a year to 2 years, quite a while, by text message and by other conversations, Vic had a consensual kiss with a coworker. An overtly consensual kiss, okay? And that's the end of the story. I don't know what else to tell you. There's not much more to say, but it was a consensual kiss with a coworker. So is that sexual harassment or assault? Obviously not. However, it's part of this investigation. Why in God's name it's part of this investigation? We may never know. However, that's one of the stories in the investigation, is a consensual kiss with a coworker. The third story, and this is my favorite story of the investigation. Now remember, this is a human resources style investigation. This is to determine, improprieties in the workplace meriting termination, and and anything else that may come with it. This is the investigation that they keep talking about, that Funimation has cited apparently in their tweet. This is it. Okay? So remember that. Here's the third incident. Vic's at a convention with one of his fellow voice actresses. We'll call her Monica Rial. just for happenstance. We're for happenstance. Well, just the name picked out of thin air. We'll call her Monica Rial. Vic's at a convention with Monica Rial. They're at tables near each other, right? They're public signing tables. So this is not a story that you heard about in an IO9 article or an Anime News Network article or Polygon or anything like that. This is not that story at all. That's a different thing. This is from the investigation. That other story, apparently not from the investigation. I don't know. I guess we'll find out, right? So this one, though, is not that story. So they are sitting at their tables, interacting with fans. They have, Vic has a long line of people. Monica has a shorter line of people. And they're talking back and forth. And Monica has a bag of jelly beans, I believe is how this story goes. Of course, everything I'm saying is based off my memory of this story from the source. And if I'm wrong, you'll find out that I'm wrong, and I'll be happy to make any minor corrections. But I'm giving you my best recollection of the overall gist of this story, right? So if it wasn't a bag of jelly beans, if it was a bowl of jelly beans, well, then I'm sorry. Or if someone else had the bag of jelly beans, I'm sorry. I believe it was at her table. But either way, she had access. This is how we define possession legally anyway. Does she have access to a set of jelly beans? Yes, she does. She does. And somewhere, either Vic asks her if he could have a jelly bean, or she offers him a jelly bean. I'm not sure of the order of this event. But either way, there's a request for a jelly bean and an acknowledgement of a desire to have a jelly bean. We would call that consent, okay? So Monica picks up the jelly bean and she takes her pen and she signs it. She autographs the jelly bean, right? Funny gag. You want a jelly bean? Well, here, I'll autograph it because I'm an important voice actor and this is a funny joke. The crowd loves it. Throws the jelly bean to Vic. Vic catches the jelly bean. Well, now he's got a jelly bean that's signed, right? Signed in I assume like a little permanent marker, maybe a fine point permanent marker or something. But he's got a signed jelly bean of Monica Rial. Pops it in his mouth and eats it. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Why would you eat poison? But, and poison that's been signed by a marker, terrible. No, so he pops this jelly bean that's signed into his mouth and he says something along the lines of, now I can say I ate Monica Rial, right? Because her name's on the jelly bean and he ate it. And that's the jelly bean story. And that's the jelly bean story. Now, mind you, this is this is a human resources investigation that apparently, according to Funimation, factored into the termination of employment of Vic. I don't know. I don't know how to explain this. I can't like, this is it. That's what they apparently went with to Funimation. So, and again, I can't tell you the third story. What I can tell you is that the third story did not happen on Funimation property or at a Funimation sanctioned event or sponsored event and did not involve another Funimation employee other than Vic, as far as I know. So, and very importantly, that other story, the other one, has even less to do with sexual assault or sexual harassment than the two stories I just told you. So that's that. And I don't know if that third story is going to be in the pleadings or not. We may get that third story on some sort of discovery. The other side might try and raise it. I don't know. But if we ever get to that story, I'll identify it. But or if I ever get permission to tell it, I will happily. But right now, I'm not really allowed to discuss it, so I'm not going to. My source doesn't want that one talked about because, again, there are other people involved in this. Like we know Monica is involved in this, right? Monica's 99% getting papers in the first round here. So in the next day or two, Monica is getting sued. And we know that's why I'm happy and comfortable to tell Monica's story. The other person in the vague story I gave you is likely not a party at this point in time, may never be a party. And then the other person involved in the third story is, again, this is not someone who's been out there yakking and talking about the evils of Vic Mignogna, right? There's some serious issues with that story as well. So I'm not going to put out anything that can't be confirmed very clearly and all that stuff. So there you go. So those are the stories we've got. That third story may come out as we go through the case. Always a possibility that the other side will tell that story. And if that's the case, you know, once it's in a document in front of me, it's going to be in front of you guys, and we're reading all of it. So make no mistake, if you keep watching, you will get the entire story of this lawsuit as it happens. These lawsuits, I should say. Okay, so I wanted to tell you that because that is information that I believe has not been made public prior to now. And they know this information. Remember that in all of this, remember that these people know that this is the story. When these people are talking about they participated in an investigation or they're involved in the investigation, this is the investigation. This is it. If they know about it, if they're talking about how they know what happened, they know about this investigation, this is it. You'll see tomorrow. This is backed up and verified as part of the investigation. What have they produced? Allegations that there was an investigation. They profess knowledge of the investigation. For some reason they can't disclose any of it. No, they'd never. They've spent several months here defaming, disparaging, and destroying a man's career. But they can't disclose the sanctity of that internal investigation has always been off the table. How would we dare release any of this private information about Vic? That would maybe subject us to defamation, right? Like, because that's if you don't know why workplace investigations are confidential. They're kept confidential because if the workplace made a statement in that investigation that then was brought out and communicated to a third party, and that third party were to repeat it, it would implicate not only the third party who repeated the defamatory statement, it would implicate the company for making the statement to the third party, right? So that's why they're confidential. There's no legal protection for them. They're not some sort of product that is privileged or anything like that beyond what the company's policy is, and that policy is designed as a safeguard against defamation. So when these people who spend their entire day defaming Vic Mignogna, say that, well, we can't give you that anything from the investigation. Just know it's really bad. Just it's really bad. It's really bad. Just know that. But we can't say anything about it. What they're doing already is defamation. This is not somehow worse. And there's nothing they're saying about not being able to release the information is effectively true under the circumstances that they're using the lack of information, the omission of evidence, to implicate him even further and further defame him. And if you watched me go through the argument about how defamation cases work out in Texas, and the substantial truth matter, you would know that making a statement that omits material facts for the purpose of defaming someone is still substantially defamatory and is actionable. And it is still actionable. So if you say, well, I'm not going to tell you about the investigation because I don't want to, you know, release private information about him or defame him. But, you know, the investigation was, you know, I mean, after that investigation, they fired him and they, you know, were looking for sexual assault. I mean, that's the same thing, right? That's actually worse. That would be worse than them telling the story for Vic. Now, for their side, the worst thing they could do is expose what's behind the stories like I just did. And I'm going to assume they're pissed off about it. But too bad. They're going in a lawsuit. You're done. You're done. You're done. This will be... I know you've got the best lawyer in the country or whatever you think. The best law firm in the country. I mean, go ahead and argue that as if you could in any qualified way. Do that, but I know you've got them. You're going to need them. You're going to need them, and I'm telling you, Ty will welcome competent counsel because the incompetent people that he's been dealing with are absolutely averse or anathema to reasonable dialogue about this. This is one of those cases that really probably shouldn't be this far ever. So. That said, we have the investigation. The investigation goes for a couple days. And I believe Vic was terminated on the 28th of January. I believe. Although it was not really announced, he was terminated on the 28th of January. Okay? Now, immediately following that termination, within the next day or so, several more cons dropped Vic Mignogna. Importantly, let's see. What am I saying here? Okay. The information about his termination and the information about that investigation at the time that these cons dropped Vic was not public. It was not public. Now, some cons dropped him before the investigation, like one, maybe two. I can't remember how many. Some cons dropped him either during or immediately, like the day following the conclusion of the investigation, or during the investigation, dropped him. You guys can go and find like the dates. I think someone has compiled the dates that cons dropped Vic. Maybe not. I don't know. But you can go find these. They dropped him prior to the knowledge of the investigation, and well, because they wouldn't have that knowledge, right? It's very private. And then prior to the announcement of Vic's termination. What does that tell you? That tells me that Funimation was leaking like a sieve, right? They've got information about Vic, either about this internal private investigation. And remember, because I don't know what's going to come out in discovery about this communication between individuals and cons. I don't know what's coming out in discovery about that, or individuals and other rabble rousers, for example. We'll find out what comes out in discovery. But remember, all of these people, all of them, Toye, Rial, Marky, every other voice actor from Funimation who directly addresses a question, all say that internal investigation is private and confidential and you don't have a right to it. All of them say that. So if during discovery we find emails from any of these people or text messages or direct messages from any of these people to a third party, like maybe an Anime News Network reporter, like maybe an IO9 or a Polygon reporter, maybe a whatchamacallit, maybe a convention chair, something like that, maybe convention staff. When we find information in that discovery about those people passing, who have all said this is private, passing along, oh, by the way, did you know that Vic Mignogna has been being investigated or has been investigated or was just terminated from Funimation? It's hush-hush right now, but you may not want to have him at your con, right? If that email comes up in discovery, just remember that they all said this was private and confidential. So I really hope we don't have any hypocrites or liars that'll be brought about in discovery. I really hope that doesn't happen. Okay. So then a couple days go by. February 5th, I believe it was, Anime News Network asks Funimation to confirm that Vic Mignogna had been terminated. And they do. They do confirm it. The Anime News Network had gotten some sort of leak that Vic was terminated and asked Funimation to confirm it. Once that happens, immediately something like 5 more cons drop Vic within a day of that. So, are they all just reacting to the news of the article at that point? Maybe they are. My guess is the whatchamacallit? My guess is there's a communication between somebody prior to the time that article drops, between somebody in the convention, and they said, look, this is happening. Wait till the article drops or whatever, but you may want to drop him from your con. These decisions, I want to be clear, this entire thing, investigation to termination to, we've got investigation, termination happening within 3 to 4 days. 3 to 4 days. And I've told you there's 3 stories involved in that investigation. 3 stories. And the reason there's 3 stories involved in that investigation will become clear probably in the filings. So I'll have to wait till then to let you know. But there's 3 stories in that investigation. I've told you 2 of them. Okay. That happens within a matter of like 3 to 4 days. And in that 3 to 4 days, Vic is canceled from conventions. And then 7 days following his termination, if the termination date, if I'm right, if that was January 28th, 7 days following is when Anime News Network confirms it. And within a day or 2 of that. So we've got a total window of 10 to 12 days for Vic to be dropped from something like 13, 14 conventions in 10 to 12 days. And in this 10 to 12 days, a firing decision was made over one of the most successful voice actors that they have. One of the most popular voice actors in the American anime industry was removed in 10 days. And again, in that time frame, you have several conventions all dropping him, and all of this stuff is private for that 10-day period. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm not saying that there's a concerted effort to remove Vic Mignogna through improper means by multiple people involved. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it sure as hell looks like it, okay? It sure looks like that's what happened. But I can't say it for sure. The lawsuits and the discovery will tell. The lawsuits and the discovery will tell. All right. So that's on the 5th. One person we can infer was involved in that investigation is Monica Rial. I can't actually confirm it. I don't know 100%, but I assume that the Monica Rial Jelly Bean story, being part of the investigation means that Monica reported that story. That makes sense, but I don't know that to be true. It could have been brought up by someone else. But I think we start looking into what is Monica liking, retweeting, what are her subsequent statements about how terrible Vic is and how dangerous he is and how she just wants a safe work environment, that she was probably involved in that investigation through her telling that story. But I don't know. Who else is involved in that investigation? Can't confirm it. I know there have been people who have said, like Samantha Inu Hart, I think she claimed she was involved in that investigation, or people have like put two and two together and say she's one of them. But she's not one of the people in any of the stories. So what her capacity is in that investigation, I don't know. But she's not in one of those stories. So who knows? Who knows? Needless to say, February 5th is where we left off. That's where Funimation confirms to Anime News Network that Vic Mignogna is fired. They may have tweeted about it. I don't know. This is an interesting thing. 6 days later, Funimation makes their infamous tweet. Funimation makes their infamous tweet where they say, following an investigation, we have decided to recast Morose Mononokean #2 or whatever with Vic Mignogna, and we will no longer be working with Vic Mignogna in the future. And then they have a subsequent tweet, right, you know, within minutes in the same thread that says, please note, part of our company policy is we do not condone harassing or targeting behavior of any kind. And then they have a subsequent tweet like hours later that was clearing up a typo they had in the second tweet. Okay. Here's a problem. Here's why. So we've got Monica on that initial thing, right? That initial thing. Monica's involved. We've got Funimation now making an absolutely pointless employment statement on a public platform about someone when they have no obligation to do so. And a statement that goes well beyond, we have terminated our relationship with Vic Mignogna and will not be commenting further on it. That's what they could have said if they had to say anything. But remember that 6 days before, they had already confirmed he was terminated, and that article was written by Anime News Network. Funimation had already made a public statement of the case, or a public statement of the situation. They've already done it. We confirm that Vic Mignogna is terminated. And that's all an employer should ever say, even if that much. They could say, we're no longer working with him. They don't even have to say terminated if they don't want. But 6 days later, they took it upon themselves, because no one can hold a gun to Funimation's head. I'm told over and over that they're a huge firm that no one would talk about. No one would even dare take a case against them, right? No lawyer would even think to. But no one can hold a gun to Funimation's head and make them make a statement about the termination of Vic. No one can do that. Funimation takes it upon themselves to tweet out that statement, and that statement is defamatory. 100% defamatory. Now, is it per se defamatory? I think it can be argued that it is, because it implicates someone in their trade or profession, which is how the common law would determine per se defamation. Why is per se defamation important? Per se defamation is per se defamation means that the damages that are done are presumed, because you can't necessarily say what the direct damages of them making a statement about Vic being terminated are. You can't say that. It's hard to quantify. Unless you've got a specific con or employer or somebody saying, we terminated Vic because of this, or we damaged Vic because of this statement, or something like that, or we refused to do business with him. Typically speaking, you've got to presume the damages because they're hard to measure. How many people will not call Vic up to schedule him in the first place because of the statement by Funimation? That's where we go into per se damages, or per se defamation with presumed damages. So at this point, At this point, we've now got Rial from the investigation, potentially defamatory statements being made. We've got, and also liking and retweeting Mars Girl. Mars Girl is an important part of this, a very important part of this. But I think Mars Girl is probably not in the first round solely because Mars Girl is in California and can't afford a can of beans. Those two factors make it, you know, is she necessarily on the list? Probably. I would want to sue Mars Girl if I were in Vic's shoes. She arguably kicked off the whole thing, and she's really been trying to convince people that she didn't and walking back statements, and conveniently after the damage is done. But she was a big factor. She came up with the hashtag that persists to this day, and she did it intentionally. Her chat is very clear. Now, Mars Girl may be involved behind the scenes more. You know, it'd be very interesting to see what Discovery turns up about communications with her from other people, but she did indicate that she has friends at Funimation in one of her tweets. So that certainly puts her on a target list, although I think just due to the nature of her being in California and it adding a layer of complication, that she'll probably not be in the initial round of lawsuits. Maybe she will. I don't know. I guess she'll have to check her mailbox and see. But in any case, Mars Girl is very important to the story, but right now I think we've got Rial and Funimation. Okay, Funimation's defamatory tweet is a devastating tweet. It should not have been said. Any employer with who's got HR experience is going to immediately say they shouldn't have made that statement, regardless of if it's true or not. Even if you have ironclad stuff to back it up, you just shouldn't make the statement. There's no reason to do so. It opens you to needless liability. And this goes to Ty's point about things being done incompetently. Any employment law attorney is going to tell you not to say that. Yeah, you know what? We want to, sir, you knock, knock. I'm the Twitter guy. What I'd like to do is go ahead and just tell people that we've terminated Vic Mignogna and go ahead and say that, you know, we don't condone harassment of any kind. Here's a draft. Here's a draft of my tweet. Counsel looks at it and says, get out. Get out. What are you doing? No, don't say this. Here's a thought. Don't say anything. We tweet 1,000 times a day about all of our pointless anime releases that are happening that day. We tweet constantly. Why on earth would you think that Twitter and this statement would be necessary to discuss with anyone? We've already confirmed with Anime News Network, probably without their attorney's consent, but you guys were already dumb enough to talk to Anime News Network and say that Vic was terminated. We have no reason to talk about this ever. You're exposing us to liability. Don't do it. That's what the attorney would likely say. My guess, they never talked to their attorney because I don't think. I mean, Evan Stone's been practicing a while. I think they have some other attorneys that are on staff or are you know, routinely consulted as outside counsel. There's no way. There's no way an attorney says, yeah, go ahead and say that. Please open us up to a lawsuit. That would be great. I don't have anything else to do. I want that to happen. No attorney says that. So I'm guessing they didn't consult with him. But doesn't matter. Funimation's official statement. They've had ample time to take it down, retract it, and say, you know what? This was worded poorly. Let us clarify. They haven't done it. They haven't done it. So Funimation's on the chopping block. Now, following that, I believe, within like a day, Jamie Markey comes out with her story, right? She goes ahead and posts her multi-page screenshot story about the vicious hair pulling and nebulous whisper, the nebulous whisper of a victim who can't seem to remember what was said at all in their victimhood. It all just happened so fast. In their victimhood, their story is, of course, that Vic grabbed Marky's hair at the roots, close to the roots, and pulled her in and said something sexual into her ear. And in all of the assaulting that was going on, she just can't remember it. just can't remember it. And then she probably maybe said something like, get the F off me. But she just can't remember that either. But she definitely remembers the hair pulling and that he said something sexual. Okay. Okay, so Marky comes out with her story. Can you prove it? Who else was there? Who else was there? Is there footage? Is there a camera? When was it? What date? Can someone back you up that they were there and not just heard about you talk about it years later? We'll see, Miss Markey. We'll see. Because I think that story and the damage that it carried puts Miss Markey on the map. I think it definitely puts her on the map. And then, of course, you know who the fourth character probably is going to be, right? You've got Soye tweeting faster than he can jerk it. Sitting there just furiously tweeting. 400 tweets. 400 defamatory tweets. Not just 400 tweets, but 400 tweets that can be brought as evidence of defamation. Of course, that idiot's getting papers. So that's where we were. And then Kamehacon happens. Let's talk about Kamehacon. And we're in the timeline. So Vic is being dropped by all sorts of conventions. Some of them he's going to have contracts with. Some of them he might not have written contracts with. You can bet. I've talked to a couple different con chairs on this. You can bet, basically, that if there is an announcement, a public announcement of inviting Vic Mignogna to a convention, you can bet there's a signed contract on the other side of that announcement. Now, maybe some very small, informal cons or new cons who haven't been doing this very long, maybe they just have some sort of email exchange and that sort of thing. But typically speaking, if you see a public announcement, you've got a written contract, similar to the one that I read. Or it could be much more tight and much more voluminous than the one that I read, right? You could have a 20, 30 page contract. Depends on the con, depends on the scope of employment. So some of these conventions that are dropping him are dropping him with a contract. Some may not have one. I don't know which ones he had specific contracts with. But he did have a contract with Kamehacon. Period. Had one. Signed contract with Kamehacon. This fact reaches the beard, and the beard goes to work. Right? So behind the scenes, I released a video talking about what I had just found out. And no, my source on this was not Ty. I can dispel that rumor real quick. My source on this was not Ty. I had found out that some shady things had happened with the Kamehacon. With the Kamehacon contract. And those shady things I laid out in an angry video without announcing the name. Without announcing the name of Kamehacon. I laid out that there was interference from some voice actors and other people. And then I think 5 days later, I made another video. Now, what happened between those two videos is important. So, Kamehacon may have gotten communications early on in the early February stuff. May have gotten some behind the scenes communications. I don't know. I have heard that they received some rumblings and people were encouraging them to drop Vic back then. We'll have to see if we can confirm that, right? We'll have to see if we can confirm that. But what I definitely heard was that once there was knowledge of a contract and Ty was going to work, they'd actually gotten Vic brought back to Kamehacon. I heard this through my source. My source says, big news, big news. Vic's coming back, but please don't say anything. Let us talk about it, right? Let Kamehacon talk about it first. And once Kamehacon has talked about it, then you can go forward and talk about the news about Vic. Okay. No announcement comes. And then I hear that the Kamehacon owner said what received a ton of pressure. Just a ton of pressure from people, and I've named them. You guys know who they are. Received a ton of pressure and then decided maybe he shouldn't bring Vic back. And then he was going to bring him again. And then maybe he shouldn't bring him again. And then that's when I made my video. I believe that was 5 days following the first video. I made the video talking about Kamehacon very specifically. And how frustrating it was to have these cowards acting behind the scenes. Acting behind the scenes and putting this tortious interference. And I talked about what is tortious interference and all that stuff. But ultimately, that Kamehacon was potentially in breach of this contract. And it was because of the influence of these people. Okay. So, following that video, I believe the next day Ty came on, we got an announcement for Vic. And Vic is brought back to the show. However, what we have learned, we being you and I, from that whole fiasco, is that at least in the weeks leading up to Kamehacon, at the least there was definite tortious interference with contract occurring, right? There was a group of people who threw a tantrum and said, if Vic comes, we don't come, we're going to breach our contract. Now, there's no evidence, right, to back up the fact that they said this, only that they then did it. Only that one of them in particular then did it. So that was smart, Monica, to go ahead and just forecast to the world that you actually did intend. You did intend to not honor your contract if Vic Mignogna showed up, right after the world was informed that you'd threatened that, which is unlawful, by the way. That is an unlawful thing to do. But, so we know there was tortious interference there. And that TI claim is very, very solid, right? It's right there. And there's enough to go off of with just that story that I've told. The evidence backs it up. Now, who else is involved behind the scenes? I have heard there's been some involvement from Toye. I've heard there's been some involvement from Toye's company, where Toye held himself out as a representative of the company and offered a sponsorship to Kamehacon. And then when all this Vic stuff started, I've heard that Toye threatened to pull that sponsorship. I guess we'll find out if that's in discovery. I mean, maybe my information's wrong. That's possible. I have every reason to believe my information is correct and my sourcing is good, but you know, there's always the possibility that my source misunderstood something or my source lied to me flat out. I'm sure I know which one Shane will suggest. But it doesn't matter. So that's what we've got. So now we've got tortious interference from Toye. I don't know if that adds the company, the Tuttle Group, to the list. I don't know. I think it's certainly a theory, but maybe the Tuttle Group would just be a place for discovery. Maybe the Tuttle Group wouldn't be a target for the lawsuit in the first round. Maybe it'd just be a place for discovery, because if he's doing this as a representative of the Tuttle Group, then there may be internal communications and there may be external communications related to this sponsorship that would be relevant to this case and others. So, we'll have to see. Now, who else is there? You've got IO9. you've got Polygon, you've got Anime News Network. All of these people, I think, are legitimate targets. But you're running into the same issues that you're running into with Mars Girl. They're in different jurisdictions. Anime News Network is a bunch of poor people in Canada, for example. Actually, I think it's one poor person in Canada. They're definitely what I would consider on the chopping block. However, jurisdictional issues, cost, stuff like that, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if they're included. I don't think they will be. IO9 and Polygon, same thing. You're not dealing with Texas jurisdictions here. You're dealing with foreign corporations, and each of those, while certainly again would be on my target list if I were doing this, all of them are very much, they're complicated to sue. Now, are they on a discovery list? I think absolutely, and certainly some of their employees are going to be on a discovery list. So we need to find out what was said by these companies. Rooster Teeth. Rooster Teeth is a tough one. Rooster Teeth is a very tough one because Rooster Teeth is in Texas. It meets a jurisdictional requirement. However, despite some of their voice actors maybe bringing them into liability, Rooster Teeth itself hasn't done a lot that brings it out there. Now, they didn't have to say that they fired Vic. They didn't have to say anything, but what statement they did make was concise. It was professional. It was probably not defamatory on its face. You'd have to argue that in a bunch of context it's defamatory, and you may be able to win that case. But what's going to come out in the background? Because Rooster Teeth and Funimation made their employment decisions on Vic, I mean, lightning fast. So are these two companies colluding to keep a business person out of business? Are they colluding to enact a blacklist in Texas voiceover animation? Maybe they are, but those communications need to be discovered. Communications between Rooster Teeth, and we can infer where some of them are. There's overlap on their staff. There's definitely going to be some gossip going on. Probably going to be some email exchanges. We're talking about major employment decisions here. And those major employment decisions might have more official communications attached. So is Rooster Teeth in the first round? I don't think so. Because, again, while there's something to go off of, it'd be better to solidify that case. You've really got one shot in these pleadings in some ways because you got to survive a pre-trial, an initial challenge to the documents. You've got to survive that initial motion to dismiss. So you want to have such an overwhelming prima facie case that a motion to dismiss is ignored by the judge or swatted down right away. So can you do that with Rooster Teeth yet? I don't know. I don't think so. That's a tough sell. Very tough sell. So I think Rooster Teeth is not in the initial round. I think they're certainly on the target list. I think they're ripe for discovery target. And I'm really curious to see what comes out. So there are other voice actors. There's Shannon McCormick. That guy's a pile of trash. And is he a target? Maybe. But a lot of his stuff came later, right? You've got to target the people who were at this from the beginning, signal boosting and making very public statements that they would have to know would be false. So that's where you got the list that I think is happening. I think we've got Marky. I think we've got Rial. I think we've got Toye, and I think we've got Funimation. So, and I think some of them, some of them are going to be involved in that tortious interference, and others may not. At the with Kamea-Con. Oh, excuse me. And in Discovery, we may find other instances of tortious interference with other conventions or other, with Rooster Teeth or whatever. That's very, very possible that we'll find that in Discovery. But we'll have to wait and see. But that's where we are so far, folks. The revision, of course, to my initial discussion is knowing that there's tortious interference with contract, not just with business relations, but tortious interference with contract happened at Kamehacon. Like, that much we know has occurred. Also, the new info being that investigation that everybody is so happy to bring up, that the investigation. I mean, the jelly bean incident, that's what you've got. And a consensual kiss, that's what you've got. You've been calling him a sex predator, okay? You've been calling him a sex predator and a sex pest. And your evidence is the jelly bean story and a consensual kiss. Even if you argue that those should have gotten him terminated from Funimation, you cannot then carry that argument to saying that he is dangerous to people around him at conventions when all evidence points to the contrary. All the evidence. Because remember, none of your stories can be corroborated. None of your stories, the vast majority of your stories, don't even have names of people attached to them. And almost none of them have firsthand eyewitnesses. And you have no video of any of this. Despite claiming you have all sorts of incriminating video, none of it's been produced. Not a shred. So you have no evidence. I know you think you have some. You should stop talking to like Canadian paralegals or something and talk to an actual lawyer, because what you've presented, bafflingly withholding, I guess, only the good stuff. You've got nothing. And I know you think you have binders full of women to come in and testify. But guess what? They won't get to. Sorry. You don't get to do it. You should learn the rules of evidence. You should learn how it works. Because you don't get to just parade person after person in. They have to be relevant to the case. And in case you forgot, the case is your statements. Not all of those other accusations. Those are not the case. Those are not being brought up in court. Your statements are on trial. So good luck with that. I hope it serves you well. I hope you didn't just tell a lawyer, I'm probably going to get sued for something. I don't know. Someone says I defamed him, but he's like super popular. I'm kind of jealous, but he's like super popular. And so he's probably a famous person. And the guy's like, oh, that's you probably don't even need to worry because those types of defamation suits don't happen. Public figure defamation. I mean, well, you said something about him, so what? That's not going to go forward. But if you do get sued, come back and see me. We'll pay the retainer then. You can just pay your consultation fee today, and we'll put that towards the retainer if you do decide to retain my services. I really hope you didn't say that or have that conversation with an attorney. I really hope you hired an attorney and said, we need help. We need to be advised on this because these guys say lawsuits are coming. I really hope that's what happened and that you actually hired them as opposed to talking to one. But I have my doubts. So, oh my goodness. Dirk Lamont says, Jelly Bean story? What the hell, is this real? How soy-filled are all of the men joining the blue-haired whales going after Vic? Yes. Also, I love this stream title, Trump 2020. It's okay to be a white Christian male. It is. It is okay to do that. Thank you. I'm glad you love the stream title. All credit of the stream title go to my art guy, Tillip. So thank you. That's it, guys. That's it. Let me go through the chats. There are a bunch that are from the beginning of the stream that I wasn't able to get to because, Ty, I told Ty to come on for like 30 minutes to an hour because he had to be up early tomorrow. But of course, we had him on for well over an hour, closing in, I think, an hour and a half, closing in on an hour and a half, which was very generous of him. But so I wasn't able to ask all of your questions to him. I tried to grab the ones that I saw that were, of course, over the $20 and up. And then any of the other ones that I saw that I could think would elicit an answer. But I probably missed some, and I'm very sorry if I did. Let me go through. Now, Kota Fujiki says, your beard is the bread that will destroy the SJWs. If you get the reference, type the anime where the original quote is from. Your beard is the bread that will destroy the SJWs. Red Ring of Death says, if we don't get a trailer for Weeb Wars episode 9, I call BS. Well, I've given you the trailer. I've given you what I think you will find in the lawsuits that are filed, hopefully filed tomorrow. That's the indication that we're getting, is we're seeing lawsuits tomorrow. But it's the legal world, and there always could be some new big thing. There always could be something that delays filing. Someone could get sick, you know, anything like that could really happen. But it sounds like things are pretty much in order. So we'll see. We'll see. TLJ Screwjob says, hey, Nick / Ty, what is an exhibit? A thing your side feels is more important than other evidence in the case. Toye saying sexual predator 6 to 7 times, or heart faking a swatting. And scale of Forrest Gump to Idiocracy, how dumb is Toye for lying in complaints? It would be, it's very dumb. It's very dumb to lie on an official communication, because even though they're privileged against a defamatory statement, they're not privileged from, deposition and getting someone to admit that they lied in their deposition, or were too stupid to understand, that they write Mr., not Mr./Mrs., unless he intended that. An exhibit is just a court recorded piece of evidence. That's it. So we've got this evidence that we think is good. We need to label it so that the court knows what it is. So exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, you get A, B, C, D, all of that stuff. Whatever your number or lettering scheme you choose, it doesn't really matter. Just so that the court can go ahead and keep those cataloged. That way, you can refer to the exhibit in a motion or a memorandum. The other side can do a motion in limine to have the exhibit excluded from evidence. That type of stuff can all happen. And you do that just by marking them down. Excuse me. Now in court, when you offer an exhibit to the court, the other side has the option to object to it, and they can raise their objection on particular grounds and maybe get it excluded, get it stricken from evidence. But generally speaking, at the early stages, you're going to enter the exhibits, you're going to do them in deposition, because you can't have it stricken from deposition anyway. You can maybe object to it after the fact and have the judge pull that or redact any of that stuff out of the deposition. That's possible. But you can ask about just about anything you want in deposition, so you can't avoid it. So at the onset, you're going to have all those exhibits come in, and then they'll make objections to them later as the court moves on. Okay. Hope that helps. Jeff S. says, Monica and Ron together are Moronica. Nice chat. Thomas Cortezi says, Gene Wolfe died today. One of the greatest authors to have ever lived. Have you or Ty ever read his book of the New Sun series? A big influence for 40K? No, I have not. Okay, so that's why the person said, rest in peace, Gene Wolfe. No, I'm not aware of him as an author. I'll have to check out some of his books. Thank you for letting me know. Scary things are scary, says Nick, violate me by blowing a kiss at the screen. There you go. Ink penification, we read that one. Let's. Tillip says, what kind of idiot spell it trailer? Well, you buddy. Shogun JB84 says, when you are on time but are having technical difficulties. Yeah, I'm sorry. A little bit out of it today. Very, very tired. I hope that's not coming through too much. I'm trying to keep the energy up, but I had a very long day and I'm very tired. Finn Frog says, put that up on Still Store Cambot. Oh, yeah. Random still of my face. Caleb Cooney says, on time and boomer. DCV Titan says, your ventriloquism game is amazing. Thank you. I've been working on it a long time. Mini Giant says, lay off the Botox. I haven't taken any Botox. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Cocky Onsai says, Mr. Beard, someone in a tweet said that the Vickers, us, are disgusting for cheering on to lawyers in this case. What do you say about us law weebs? Hashtag BRD. I think Ty, I'm safe to convey that Ty is a big fan of you guys, and the support the support for Ty and me and Vic, most importantly, has literally moved mountains that were in his path. Getting him back to KamehaCon is largely because of you guys and the positive encouragement that KamehaCon got through all of this. So I can't stress enough how important that was. Handlebar Fox says, you and that red shirt are lucky you chose to parody Star Wars and not Star Trek. Yeah, I wouldn't want to get written out of this episode. Tab says, TAB says, hey, did you see the fan comic Thing starring you and the beard I sent via Twitter DMs? I'm TAB on there. I did not. I'll have to look into it. I'm sorry. I've got a lot of DMs and sometimes they get, it gets shuffled down, but I'll go find it. Thanks, buddy. Namrak Isto says, hey guys, Fan X this upcoming Friday and Saturday in Utah. We didn't manage to get Vic an invite this time, but let's try for fall, usually early September. So there you go. Again, if you're trying to get Vic invited back to any convention, here's how you do it, in my opinion. In my opinion. You want to get Vic back to a convention, you be polite and respectful to the convention. They don't want... Look, the thing that got him removed was a bunch of angry, petulant little babies shrieking at them, right? You've seen how they harass people. You've seen how the hordes go after people. That anger is what got him removed. Peace, goodness, kindness, professionalism, those go a long way towards getting him back. So if you're going to talk to a convention or ask them to have Vic on, do it politely and respectfully. Okay? Don't say, do it or you get Minecrafted, right? Like, that's not effective. 2, talk about the amazing success that every convention he's been to this year has been. Not only are the fans there in droves, he's also not had any negative feedback from any of these conventions. And now I know people are saying, well, he's got negative feedback going back for a while. Notice one absence of all of that. They keep saying it is known, right? It is known, Khaleesi. It is known. It is known. Vic has had problems for 10 years. It is known. Well, what problems? Well, it is known among the conventions. Yet, convention after convention, if you could actually talk to them, I've talked to several, don't actually know about these alleged things that all conventions know. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, many of them are not, you're not having to overcome this great bias. Many of them were hearing about this stuff for the first time. It sounded very serious months ago when they heard about it. Lots of them didn't make any sort of public statement. They just said, you know what, Vic is not coming or whatever, or they didn't say anything. They just quietly uninvited him. And some of them just didn't invite him because it wasn't on the schedule to have him there. So if you're going to request him, or it could have conflicted with one he was contracted to go to, right? You're going to request him, be polite, be respectful, point to the fact that there actually aren't tons of stories out there about him being this dangerous person. Point to the fact that his conventions this year have been going great, and point to the fact that as a business, talking about bringing lots of fans who want to see him, and it'll only be good for the con. So there you go. That's how I would do it. Okay, we've got the Texan 83 says, Jesus Christ, Nick, you need to check out this Mitchell Horton person on Twitter. The idiot keeps saying no one accused Vic of sexual assault, and I, the guy constantly dealing with Shane, have gotten sick of trying to educate. No. Don't talk to Mitchell Horton. Mitchell Horton is a moron. That's the problem with Mitchell Horton. So you guys don't have to do these arguments. I know, and believe me, as a person who routinely engages in arguments he doesn't have to get into, you don't have to do it. I understand how that sounds. You don't have to. The lawsuits will do the talking, and they'll do it in the next day or two. So you don't have to argue with these people. They're all about to get blown out. Okay, next. Tucker says, unfortunately, I'll be out for the next few days with my girl, but I'm here live today. Well, thank you for joining, sir. And thank you for being here. Enjoy your time with your girl, or have her watch the show. Just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do something much cooler. Luminaire says, first time super chat. Oh, thanks, buddy. Hi, Nick. Question. If all of the first round of targets decide to settle, will that prevent discovery? Well, it depends on the terms of the settlement, but no. And if so, how will that affect the ability to go after the second round? If they all settle, the evidence is still there. They'll either turn it over. They'll be subpoenaed to turn it over. They'll do it as part of the settlement. Throat, man. My throat. I apologize. Okay. The evidence is still there. It can still be compelled, but generally, if you're settling, part of that agreement is, please cooperate with us on this so we don't have to drag you back to court, so we don't have to do it through lawyers and cost a bunch of extra money. Let's just get this stuff so we can go after the other people. So I would wager that Ty and even the attorneys of the other people would be very happy to be able to reach settlement, because that would mean that someone, you know, people are getting what they like, right? People are getting something that they want out of that settlement. That's the nature of settlement. They're avoiding massive costs of lawsuits. They're getting information to move on, and they get to go on to more people. That's oftentimes what we want to happen is more information, get more of the truth. So, there you go. I hope that answers your question. It won't really affect the ability to go after the second round, except maybe if everybody settled right away, they could accelerate the second round. That's how that goes. And they would be doing so with more information than they have today. Addie M says, if you lied about that, does that mean that Drex lied about all the midget stuff too? We knew it. Yeah. Angel Estrada says, yo, Nick, love the show. Will you be covering PewDiePie versus T-Series court order anytime soon? The 9-year-old army needs your help. Yeah, I would love to cover it. I need to look at it. Because I've been swamped. Tassius says, hey, Ty. Oh, this is the one you wanted me to read. Sorry, couldn't find it on the fly, Tassius. Hey, Ty, is your beard a beard of protection +3 or a beard of giant strength +6? Why not both? Keck7Go says, Ty, will you be my daddy and adopt me? I'm in need of a USA citizenship to escape the third world EU continent in the wake of ban on memes. Oh, Keck, we gotta get you a proper US papa. Berserker Bauer says this entire lawsuit is officially late and gay. It's very true. Trevor Travels the World says, Worski put Alex in jail. Stand your ground. Alex is out of jail. And guys, I need to say that I cannot currently comment on that. I know a lot of you want me to talk about Worski and Alex. I can't really comment on it right now. I'm gathering more information. I hope to be able to comment on it in the very, very near future. Okay, with some actual information as opposed to speculation. Everybody's giving you the speculation, right? People have told you they think Alex should be in jail, that it was a bad draw. Some people have said that it's a good draw. I think that in Florida, I think a large part of why he was arrested was it's Pinellas County. And look at the history of the sheriff in Pinellas County on stand your ground and Second Amendment stuff. Just go look at the history and you'll understand exactly why they arrested him for a bad draw and charged him with some crimes. Now, will the DA uphold those charges? Will the state be moving forward with that as evidence arrives? I doubt it. Personally, I think he can beat this at a pretrial motion based on stand your ground and just common law self-defense. I think both of those have large potential for his case based on what I've seen. And look, other people disagree with me. That's fine. I don't know. I haven't watched that whole live stream, so I don't, I could be wrong. Happy to be wrong. Well, I'm not happy to be wrong. I think Alex doesn't need to be in jail for this. Failure's getting punched. You pull a gun to stop a battery. And I know everybody out there is quick to say, oh, you don't walk forward. You got to stand your ground, or you don't, pursue them or this or that. People do things that are wrong in the moment because of the adrenaline and what's going on. Big thing that's going to play into his favor in some way is that the guy isn't dead, right? He didn't actually have to discharge the weapon. Now, you should always draw with the intent to discharge your weapon. That's just a rule of carrying. If you're going to draw, you should do that. But once that draw is made, the calculation starts changing. I think Alex is going to be okay, but I can't really comment on anything specific until I get more facts, and I want to bring those facts to you. So you can go find the speculation everywhere else. Mine is purely speculation at this point that I think he's going to be fine. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are asking about it. Arturo Martinez, thank you for the donation. Juan Cruz says, hey, Nick, I was wondering if you and Ty are fans of Godzilla movies. Yes, both of us. I can speak for that. If so, what is your favorite? My favorites are I liked all of the old ones. I grew up watching them with Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla. Of course, I love Mechagodzilla. That's a great one. So I don't know which ones are Ty's favorite, but the new ones have not caught my fancy. And the newest one I didn't even know existed. Combiner says, rest in peace. Oh, wait, we read that one. Itchisynchro Negroni says, Sir Beard, is your daughter/daughters a Vic fan / anime fan? I don't know. Hopefully I can have one of them come on and talk about that in the future. Moist John says, Jim wants on, check your lawsuit. Not that Jim, guys. Pony Cordero says, damn it, Jim, I'm a lawyer, not a timekeeper. All Around One says, I've been lurking in the Rooster Teeth post about the Vic situation, and one poster is claiming that your Sabbath rant counts as blackmail. Thoughts? No. I didn't ask anybody to do anything. Did I? Like, I wanted Kamehacon to bring Vic back. I haven't asked Sabbath to do anything. I think it'd be wise of him to consider hiring a lawyer. but I don't know what blackmail would have been in that Sabbath rant. Nothing. I haven't said that Sabbath can do anything to stop me from releasing any information that I acquire about him. I just need to authenticate any information that I get. So, no, I don't. There's no exchange here. That would be blackmail. You know. I'm just going to say it again, though. First one to settle gets the best deal. There's value in talking to lawyers. If you have information about a lawsuit that's public, you know. But I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything. Extrovert ED says, oh, now you've done it. Shane's going to insist he can't be sued, citing Texas Law 14-3A. My guess on new evidence, it's written in the sky. I don't know. I don't know if that's the new evidence. We'll have to see. Elguana Carnspur says, plot twist, Jim is Mr. Medicare. That'd be funny, but I don't think so. Mini Giant says, wanted to check Ron's Twitter and accidentally searched for Ron Soye. True story. I say it all the time now. He's been branded Ron Soye. I have to consciously call him Toye. Unknown Watcher says, Monica blocked me on Twitter for having a different opinion than her. Not sure what I'm going to do with my life now, but I think I'll live. Just barely. Supergirl says, around blacks never relax. Wow. I don't think that was actually Supergirl. If I had to guess, that one came in on Streamlabs and was probably not Supergirl. But maybe she'd have to, I guess, confirm or deny that. That's wild. The DCV Titan says, don't stop them. Let them run out the rope so it'll be a longer drop and harsher snap when life drops the platform out from under them. In Minecraft, metaphorically speaking, he's talking about not getting a temporary restraining order. So there you go. These Hands says, we no longer gas the undesirables. We use Exterminatus now. First target, the furs. Yeah. Oh, I got, guys, some major furry just got picked up on enticement or solicitation of a child. You know, who knew? But this is a big story. It was sent to me. I may be covering it in the very near future. Okay. Believe Bulma says, no suit. Hashtag we don't fear the beard. Hashtag shave the beard. You can't shave the beard, Believe Bulma. That'll dull your razor faster than your comedy or whatever. War Fury 911 says, Ty and Nick, Sisters of Battle is the best faction, by the way. You're entitled to like your opinion, man. James Karg says, heard much on Toei possibly joining in. Toei, not Ron Toye. Possibly joining in on their own side to this. Also, take this to the donation pile for Vic's firm cost. Also, RIP Notre Dame. That Notre Dame stuff is very sad to me. I've been to Paris a couple times. I really loved going to the cathedral. I was hoping to take my family when my kids are a little older and could appreciate it more. But I do hope they're able to save and restore a good portion of it. But man, that's a nasty story. I haven't been following it for past hours. I hope it hasn't like collapsed in the meanwhile. Toei possibly joining in. I think we got some indications that Toei isn't happy in the Kamehacon stuff, right? My sources indicate that Sabbath's tour was canceled partly because of Toei and maybe some problems that they had with it. And my sources also indicate that Ryo Horikawa not showing up was largely because of Toei. And who knows? Who knows? I can't confirm it. That's what my sources say. So if that's true, then I think we see where this is going. And that's not good news for Funimation. Ian Conant says, hi, Vic got his own floor. Yes, he did. He did. And it's a good thing he did because it was crammed in there. People were very happy to see him. Great stuff. Great stuff. Thanks for showing up and showing and showing out. Showing up and showing out? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Next. Let's see. Sakaki Onsai says, non-Vic news. Smallville's Allison Mack signs 10-page agreement with U.S. government to turn state's evidence against NXIVM. News from the sun.com.uk. Oh, I'll have to check. I've reported on that a couple times, but there's so much pointless motion practice going on that it's hard to follow. So I'll have to look through that. Okay. Talbot Link says, think Ty, thinking on the new year. Quote, I think I'll be the nuke in a Twitter war. Sounds fun. Pro Hero All Might says, joke for you and Ty. What's the difference between an SJW and a suicide vest? A suicide vest actually accomplishes something when triggered. Oh, come on. Why? Why do you make me say that? Oh, goodness. Crits8830 says, for Mr. Beard, I suggest that you don't get a TRO and let them continue digging their hole, but not giving them a TRO, you're also providing them enough rope to hang themselves as they dig. Ian Conant says, as a fur, not all of us are bad. Oh no, definitely not. And the person who sent me the furry story was a fur. Was a furry. Fur? Whatever they are. So yeah, there's certainly a faction of the fur community that do not want these people in their community. So there you go. Let's see. Next is TLJ Screwjob says, so the first time you were on Nick's stream, you said, if it turns out Vic is guilty, then he's guilty, in response to one of my questions. Given all the evidence you now have against Funny, Monica, Toye, etc., how confident are you in Vic's innocence? I'll tell you that I believe Ty is 100% confident, as confident as you can be as a lawyer anyway, in Vic's innocence. We can always be surprised. We're surprised with some level of regularity because our clients aren't always forthcoming. But here's the thing. If there was evidence, do you think you wouldn't have seen it yet? You think you wouldn't have seen it? Of course you would have seen it. They've been blurting out everything that they get. But they're just this stuff. They're just they're protective of that. No, I don't buy it. Yorgamundo7 says, Nick, if you have it handy, you should read a few text messages from Meyer versus Wade to Ty. I think he'd get a kick out of them. I'm gonna have to just send him the documents and let him look at it. I think he'll have a blast. JT Drew says, first super chat. I love the show. Fear the Beard. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Cars in Depth says, Ty, first, what is your opinion about the Meyer versus Wade discoveries? I'll tell you, Meyer, Wade, Ty is not aware of that case. I've talked to him and asked him, and he knows about it on the periphery, but he is not like, he's not been following that case. He's been working on other stuff. 2, will you take my case suing the Elders of Zion for not sending me my weekly check for my share of Jewish world domination? I don't know if he'll take that case, but you'd have to call and ask. Poor Man says, many thanks to both you and Ty for confirming that 40K is indeed a boomer hobby. Thanks for doing all this for Vic. Make him cry, Ty. Thanks, buddy. Zion Sephora says, love from Pasadena, Texas. Good things come to those who wait. Thank you. TLJ Screwjob says, also, what are the chances, Nick and Ty, of Foye or someone else pulling a Wade and interrupting the deposition? Oh, I read that one earlier. I think the chances are high. Superbus Sterodub says, somewhat obese Anthony. There you go. Dorby says, so clearly Vic is going to sue Funimation in the first round, and I'm guessing Bubba-Con or Kamea-Con is going to share a few emails tomorrow. That could be. We'll have to see. I think Funimation in the first round is about the safest bet out there. They're one of the most crucial parties. Their statement is overtly defamatory, and they will likely have lots of information about the other parties. Xander Zoran says, DD Broly DVD coming out tomorrow. Coincidence? I don't know. Sevi Rock says, oh, we read that one about Gunbuster. Poor Man says, best quote from Legend of Galactic Heroes. Humans were drinking alcohol 5,000 years ago and they're still drinking it now. Alcohol is humanity's friend. How can I abandon a friend? Good one. Dorby says, challenge coins must be produced anywhere at any time or drink is owed. Thank you for that. Sharp Dress Clan says, Nikki, how have you not read Shadow of the Torture? Best sci-fi series in the past 50 years. Literary merit, very Christian, well, Catholic, rip Gene. So that's Gene Wolfe. Because I read a lot of other documents these days. It eats into my casual reading time. Austin Kinkle says, when Shane sits down, chairs beg for mercy. CG says, does Ty have a beard under his beard? Cannot confirm or deny. Jonathan Lynn says, Ty, where is the Todd Habercorn case at right now? Right now, the Todd Habercorn case is at the same place it's been, as far as I know. It's very quiet. There's just, I think there's not a lot of news and buzz on the Todd front. And I think that that's probably a good thing for Todd. So right now, as far as I know, it's just kind of simmering, but we'll see. I mean, who knows? Tech 7 Go. Oh, we read that one. Asia Frazier says, but Ty demanding an answer is harassment. 2012 Jameson says, can we order the Amazon's deposition on Amazon? That would be fun. Bad Wolf says, I've taken a challenge coin from a man's small intestine once. He swallowed it playing quarters. I could tell you all kinds of weird stories from the operating room. Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds fun. Anime Moon says, Ty Beard must make a mean steak. This is spicy. Agith Thomas says, 2 questions, Nick. 1, in a settlement, can Vic leverage getting his old jobs as Broly and Crow back in exchange for not going to court? He can. They have to be willing to do that, but he could absolutely do that in settlement. And 2, and everyone wins. Yes, that would be a great settlement, actually. But he could do that in settlement. But he can't do that through court, probably. But question number 2, is it legal to monetize fan animations of something like Ruby or DBZ or whatever that you yourself created while also putting up a disclaimer? It's risky. It's risky. It has to be transformative or fair use, and you'd have to talk to an attorney in your jurisdiction, or probably more appropriately in the Ninth Circuit, where it would be brought if you're putting it on YouTube. You'd have to talk to a specific IP attorney about that. And if you are a professional animator and really want to discuss that question, send me an email, and I can field some preliminary stuff, and then I can forward you to I would be happy to forward you to an IP attorney if you need to pursue it. Asia Frazier says, Ty consulting a case with Samaritan woman at the well. Oh yeah. Well, 4, 5, 6, 17 husbands. Let's see. Solid Carrot says, can't afford much till payday, but Superberry Cherry. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Please don't ever feel obligated to pay me. I do this for your entertainment and education, and that's why I do it. I appreciate of course, every contribution. I really do. But I was doing this stuff with less contributions, and I'll happily do it with less and more, you know, however that goes. So don't ever feel obligated, but I do appreciate it. Darkman McEdgeface says, graded 0.5 has finally hit 200 subs. Congrats to graded 0.5. To celebrate, we want to give some money to our favorite superhero, Law Might. Come check us out weeknights at 9 p.m. Eastern. We talk comics, movies, and nerd stuff. So definitely, guys, check out graded 0.5. That's all one word, graded 0.5. Check them out on YouTube. If someone can link the channel, go ahead. And if you like them, subscribe to them. If you don't. Morty J says, Ty, I was at the con, sadly didn't get to meet you. However, did you get a good laugh with the big rainstorm we had Saturday? Yes, he did. And knowing Monica's location for signings, I sure did. Yeah, yes, I can tell you he did. Shadow Planer says, where can I send an item for you to sign, Mr. Beard? I guess you'd have to send that to Beard Harris, but make sure it's very clear what you're asking. I can't promise that would happen. I would recommend contacting them beforehand if you're going to do something like that. Let's see. The Gun Kid says, would Ty accept a Vickers machine gun, non-functional display piece, of course, to display at his office if we crowdfund it? We'd have to ask. You'd have to ask you'd have to contact them and ask that. Extrovert ED says, Nick, check your Twitter DMs for my name. Look at what happened after that damning video you showed the other day. I will do that. Automata says, if the story doesn't involve a jelly bean shaped gimp suit, I'm going to be disappointed. Sorry to disappoint. Bo Stoker says, I don't know if you had a chance to look that over. I got one detail wrong. He's a chief petty officer, not a medic, and he's sequestered in the brig and was ordered to be released to the barracks. There you go. See, I heard that he got counsel, but maybe that's not true. I don't know, man. I'm looking into it. Dirty Knicker says, lol, Justin wrenched before Supergirl. Congrats on cucking her, Justin. Rude. Chris Hobby says, can you get 4XL Ricada Law hoodies, please? ILY. I don't know. If Teespring doesn't offer them, then I can't do it through them. Although I am considering a different merch option. And we may actually have a limited release of merchandise coming out that is very different from everything on Teespring, and it'll be done in a different way. But these will be handcrafted, like ceramic mugs and glasses, like shot glasses or whatever, made here in Minnesota by a craftsman. I will release more details about that if we materialize it. I don't know that this is going to happen 100%, but it's something we're looking at. 4XL hoodies might have to wait till I get a different vendor for clothes, but we'll see. Jay is bored, says, Lady Justice, smash or pass? Always smash. The blindfold makes it hot. Cowboy FMJ91 says, to quote a great film, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove in court. Absolutely. I think a lot of people may have forgotten that they have to back this all up. The Gun Kid said, I asked if Ty would accept a Vickers machine gun, functional or not, to display at his office if we crowdfunded it. Yes, you did ask that. We have to ask. We'd have to ask their office. I mean, I can pass it along and see, but that'd be up to someone else, not me, to do. Above Average Peen Jeremy says, this is a question for you and Ty. How hard is it as a lawyer to not let things get personal? I know I couldn't do it, and I'm way too hot-headed. It's very difficult, and sometimes we fail at it. So that's how you go. Zephranias says, first time managing to catch one of these live. Goodbye Sleep Cycle, but hello Nick. Just binged your Greer streams and they were hilarious. I'm glad you enjoyed them. I think Sriracha and I are looking for something else funny and ridiculous and horrible to read to you guys. Radioactive Man 487 says, tortious interference sounds like something that would be likely seen in real estate where there are multiple parties. Your thoughts? Yeah, tortious interference absolutely happens in real estate. Anywhere that there's a contract and anywhere that there might be competition. Business is very frequent because you've got an exclusive deal with someone that's getting in your way of doing business. So you try and get them to break that deal, something like that. But certainly in real estate, Multiple parties, and again, anything with signed contracts. Think real estate agency, right? Getting someone to fire their real estate agent if they've signed an exclusivity agreement would be tortious interference and could be very, very valuable depending on the property. Let's see. Rolana1 says, I don't suppose we could obtain a video transcript of the Amazons reaming someone out if that happens. I'll see. We'll have to, if it's off record, no. And they typically would ream someone out off record in a deposition, like what happened with Meyer versus Wade. But I'm going to see if I can get my hands on video. If that's a possibility, then, you know, I'll get my hands on video. Bryce Hibdon says, Lady Justice is hot and never a thought. Absolutely. Bad Player says, check Twitter, need Discord, username Dead Hardware. Okay, buddy, I'll check it, and we'll make sure to get you that information. Adrian Van Kuren says, who do you think the single most important party is in the Vic case? Vic. Vic is who I think is the most important party. Who will be sued? I went through this. I think in the first round, it's Toye, Rial, Markey, Funimation. I think Sabbath's a target. I think Rooster Teeth's the target. I think Anime News Network, Mars Girl, Polygon, and IO9 are all potential targets. Samantha Inu Hart may be a target. Shannon McCormick may be a target, you know, but I think I've listed the majority. There's something like 15 potential targets, right? Plus at the companies, you've got individual parties in the companies who may be named as well. Quicksilver Pony says, speaking of jelly beans, here's a joke. What's the difference between a jelly bean and a chickpea? I wouldn't pay $300 to have a jelly bean on my face. Oh, come on, Papa. Gross. Cocky Onside says, pee break. I object to form. Ralph Griswold says, here, buy a Snapple bottle. Bathroom boy. The guy from that thing says, I just found out Vic did the dub for Rohan Kishibe. I'm a subs versus over dubs guy, but Heaven's Door is my IRL stand, and now Vic is my spirit animal. There you go. Jesse N says, get a bucket. Wooten says, Nick confirmed, hashtag Bean Daddy. Oh, I think I read that one. Venomide says, will you cover the recent Worski arrest drama? Yes. Again, when I get some better facts on it. Less speculation. Believe Bulma says, sending Monica and Ron patches to counter your hate. Gonna take a lot of patches, buddy. Gonna take a lot of patches. Have fun going broke, sending all those patches, because I've got an endless well of hatred. And you have a limited amount of patches. The Blur says, dear Funimation, put the fatty down, walk away. Andy M says, Nick, I'm giving you this money because that hurt to listen to, and I feel bad you had to deal with reading / hearing it more than once. Thank you. Sakaki Onsai says, R.E. Jellybean story. Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an... Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Marvin the Martian. Samantha Inu Hart is an idiot. There you go. JT, thanks for the donation. Just another person says, Nerd Lawyer has a literally can't even moment live. Andrew Shuggett says, can we ask Dankula to do an episode of Mad Lads about this Jellybean incident? Maybe once it's written out in text and we can get that whole thing locked down. That would be great. Kota Fujiki says, Nick, for the sake of us all, please do not utter, I ate Monica Rial ever again. It's just for the Vors out there. It's just for the Vors. Lazarian444 says, Vic should have gave her a signed lollipop. All Out of Bubblegum says, wait a minute. Are you telling us that this whole thing started with an effing jelly bean? What the F? M says assault with a deadly weapon # dad jokes 2019 dad joke assault 2019. Obo299 says, please God, I want Monica to defend this story during discovery. Like, holy crap, this is petty as hell. Eating a jelly bean equals sexual assault, but her name was on it. I think you forgot that, sir. Roy Torres says, so by Monica's point of view then in DBZ, Majin Buu is a sexual assaulter for turning people into candy and eating them? How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Jason Groothouse says, if we speak to POTUS, can he send SEAL Team 6 or Delta Force to liberate Shane's chair? I think there's a good chance. I think we just have to, we can pull the biggest gay op ever, okay? We'll tell POTUS that Shane's chair is here illegally, and then they'll send ATF along with ICE to go liberate Shane's chair, and then they'll process the papers. They'll realize that Shane's chair is a diligent legal immigrant, probably from Korea or Vietnam or Taiwan, and they'll, you know, has been working here for, I mean, 3-4 decades, and was brought here, and the relationship between the chair and Shane has been consummated several times, clearly, and that will be grounds for giving him permanent resident status and asylum, because any other country than the U.S. would have thrown out Shane's chair years ago. So we can get him asylee status and get him on the road to permanent citizenship. And all it takes is us asserting to POTUS that this is an illegal chair, and they'll send in ICE, and ICE will fix everything. Blaine20 says hashtag jellybean assault. There you go. Denal132, thanks for the donation. Anime Moon says mass career suicide by Jellybean. Hope it was good. Above average Peen Jeremy says you're dropping views fast. Kick Vic is already furiously typing on Twitter. Keep an eye out, everyone, and screenshot the comedy. There you go. Trex Tenkai says maybe Monica really liked that Jellybean flavor. Rick Nikita says Ron is just upset that he didn't get to watch Vic eat Monica. Aw, come on. Trex Tenkai says hashtag stand with jelly beans. Rick, how do you know that he wasn't in the corner watching the whole time? Sevi Rock says roll that beautiful bean footage. Talbot Link says I'm sure Toy Boy is upset that Vic ate Rial's bean. Jason Rooster says GF is interested but needs General Vic summary. Oh man. The General Vic summary is a man's career was ruined over him eating a jelly bean and hugging people with their knowing consent. There you go. S. Cybertaz says the reason that Shane wants to be involved is so that he can be deposed and legally dominated by the Amazons. He's not important to be included in my novella, but they, Ty, you, and Vic will be. Thanks, buddy. Jesse Trevino says, I'm imagining the lawyers advising the Kick Vickers like this. Sir, as your attorney, I advise you to shut up. King Explosion Murder. King Explosion Murder says Bean Lives Matter. Hashtag Bean Lives Matter. Ray Ingry says, please, when Soye gets papers, make a smiley, smiley, smiley tweet. We'll see. Believe Bulma says fireball equals dog whistle for anti-Indian hate speech because they drank firewater. Nick turns red and goes red face to oppress people of colors. Oh, dude. Is Hailzen? I don't know. So after all this, the Jellybean story is the best they have. That's so effing stupid, I'm going to have to drink till I forget I heard that. Wouldn't it be unfortunate if the Jellybean story was the best that they had in that investigation? And in that investigation, they found it to be inconclusive. And then, after that investigation, maybe a day or so later after they found it to be nonsense, maybe after that, they then fired him, and a couple weeks later made a statement saying following an investigation. Wouldn't that be interesting if they did that? But I don't know. Is it yeah. Dirk Lamont read that one. Marty Lund says Yakitate Japan bread reference is worth $2. Thank you. Roy Torres says chances for jail time for anyone like bribe to promote Khan. Gonna have to find out in Discovery. Blink Your Eyes 1400 says, what if people who are not targeted still talk? Well, if they talk and there's damage, then they get sued. I suppose that's how it goes, right? Asphyxiation says, hello again, friend. I'm arranging a meeting of the minds. You, Jim, the Great Bull Drex, and you check DMs. Also, if you're still interested about the atheist stuff, I've got some knowledge. Hit me up. Thank you. DLJ Screwjob says, oh, Nick, on a previous stream, I asked about what exactly a subpoena is, but you were super tired. I know this isn't helping. And I asked 2 questions in one chat. But is it like presa judicata thing where you better get the one chance right? Well, I mean, if you abuse your subpoena powers or use your subpoena power in a harassing way, that's bad. But if you can justify your subpoena request with, and if you like didn't ask for it the first time, but then new information comes to light, you may just have to justify it to the court for your second subpoena request. But no, anytime you've got credible information, the court wants all of the information it can get. It wants the best information, it wants the most authentic information, and it wants all of it that's relevant. That's why discovery is broad. That's why the subpoena power is broad. Superbus Stereodub says Notre Dame will be rebuilt as a mosque. Oh, don't say that. Y says the worst part about the Notre Dame fires that Marcone announced they intended to rebuild it in a way consistent with their modern diverse nation. How about no? How about you rebuild it the way it was? Ugh. Cypher Warrior said, hopefully he just means that they'll have a broad group of people working on it, not just indentured servants of the Catholic Church. Cypher Warrior says, Tug, Hay, and Ty Beard will finally meet at Matsuri. Oh, and me. I'm going to Matsuri too. So that'll be great. It's for the fans. Says, I asked the Louisville SuperCon if they could bring Vic in a PM in a nice and civil manner, only to be blocked. What a bunch of children. They don't deserve to run a con. They also run Florida SuperCon and will probably do the same thing. Hashtag respect the fans. Well, we'll see. I think Florida SuperCon may have announced Vic removed early on, but we'll have to look into that one, I suppose. Banacori says, who is the furry that got arrested? Come on, I have to know. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I'm gonna report on it. Also, I've been lurking your show for a while. You make some quality content. Stay cool. Thank you. I will try. FGC Anon says, to quote the internet person I heard this from, who was talking about social justice in relation to the meaning and concept of justice, said this: justice does not need a qualifier. P.S. Please check your Twitter DMs. I will. I have, I think, over 1,000 Twitter DM requests, so I apologize. I will check them. I'll check them. Butthole Weeb says, so much anime talk out of you recently, Nick, yet no watch of those mecha DVDs. I haven't watched any DVDs. Nor another fun Weeb stream with your Ricada Law expert and Peach. Wowza, Nick. I need a fun stream soon. Miss you, Daddy. Yeah, I was just thinking I need to do that. Like, honestly, I was driving to the doctor the other day. This was Thursday, last week. I thought, I need to have a talk with Peach and you and figure out if we could do that stream. Vertistrom says, the worst part about the Jelly Bean story is how unfunny that joke is. I like Vic, and that alone is worth a swift termination. Yeah, it's a terrible joke. Not funny at all. Bo Stoker says, he has counsel, however, because of where he is being kept and the restrictions to his, and I'll just say it, internment, he doesn't have access to it. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Chaotic Neutral Comics says, you and Sriracha should read some Chuck Tingle. We'll put it on the list. Mythos Irving says, what about Geekdom 101? I don't know that Geekdom 101 at this point in time is a target. I mean, I've seen some of the private message stuff that he was involved in where publicly he wasn't really saying stuff. Behind the scenes, he was maybe a little more anti-Vic. I don't know that he's worth going after in that scheme. He might just be a guy with an opinion, and I don't know that he had that much influence. Now, if it comes out in Discovery that he did, I'm sure he's added to the targets. JT Express says, what's a good whiskey to start besides Jack's? Depends on your price point. Depends on your price point. For a good like $45, $50 whiskey, go get some Basil Hayden's. Either the rye or the bourbon. They're both great. If you're looking for a $100 range, go buy some Lagavulin, single malt Lagavulin 16. Go buy some Glenlivet Nadura. That's about a $100 whiskey. Any of them are good. So there you go. The Lagavulin's going to be a little harsh. So prepare yourself. Grow your chest hair first. Blaine 20 says, Supergirl got suspended for use of the word thought. So some of us reported Jesse Thoughtmore's profile. These rules. Anonymous says, the idea Monica and co can't be lying because they're so close to Vic is preposterous. My friend was used and abused by her parents and siblings. When she put her foot down, they went to socials to spread lies, attack her motherhood, and rally people. Anyone can lie. Most importantly, everyone can lie. Everyone. No one's exempt from it. No one is. You always have to be on guard for that lie. And of course they have reasons to lie about him. One of the greatest stories in history, one of the greatest historical stories, is the Iliad, in which apparently a major war between the superpowers of the known world was launched because a pretty boy cucked a general. That's it. The American Revolution was fought over the fact that they raised the tax on tea a couple percent. I mean, lies and petty things start wars in the world. And we think that people won't lie over jealousy. We think that people won't lie over being treated in a way that you don't think you should be treated. I mean, maybe Vic was a jerk to some of these people in their perception. That's a possibility. We think they won't lie about that to get him removed. Maybe Vic just wasn't in the social club at Funimation. Because I've heard Funimation operates like a high school. Clearly, they run the business like a high school, so it only makes sense that the employees act like teenagers and mean girls, right? And we've seen evidence of it all over the place. It only makes sense. But listen to this disgusting thought. Maybe he just wasn't in the friend group. Maybe he just wasn't hanging out with the popular kids. Now he's super popular with the fans, but maybe he wasn't going to the mixers. You think people won't lie over that? You think adults won't lie over that? Happened to me, right? When I worked at Wells Fargo, I was dressed down by a manager for not going after work, to functions at the bar after work, ignoring the fact that I had a wife and a child, like ignoring the fact that I had family obligations and I lived an hour away from work. But you think that people won't start a rumor about you if you're not in the in-group? All right. Draken CSGO says, I've been blocked by all of Kick Vic. Am I cool? Yes, very cool. Oron1 says, when you go to Matsuri, will you cosplay as Tai? No. I'll be just me. Reno McDallas says, how do the Kick Vics manage to breathe on their own? I'm not sure that they do. Cassia said, if they had bombshells like forced kissing and pulling hair, why were those not in the investigation, but these were? Makes you think, doesn't it? Makes you think. Tom A says, Bulma and Vegeta are totally screwed. Da-dum. Vertistrom says, actually, now that I think about it, the mere concept that someone even willingly laid hands on Monica is pretty funny. I retract my earlier statement. And Mythos Irving says, geekdom, not Iago. I'm Blue's Clues this case. No, I don't think geekdom's Iago at all. I don't think so. Yeah. Well, guys, there you have it. That's the updates. That's the Beard talking about why the suits weren't filed today. I never like to be wrong, but you know what? I'm happy to be wrong if it leads to a better complaint. I genuinely thought they were coming today. I think Ty genuinely thought they were coming today. If you see an absolutely exceptional idiot on Twitter claiming how he knew they weren't coming today, he knew, I'll tell you, Ty didn't know they weren't coming today this morning. So whatever that sad chair raping loser has to say about how he knew they weren't coming, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't even know how you start a civil case. He doesn't have any inside info on what's going on. The lawsuits were supposed to come today, and they just didn't. So we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Ty didn't make any promises, but he seemed to indicate that tomorrow was a possibility. Guys, the second they're filed, you're gonna know. You're gonna know about it. I'll be tweeting about it the moment they're filed, and then I will spend the next rest of my day trying to get those documents tomorrow rather than having them by Wednesday. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for hanging out. I hope this stream was entertaining. I hope the juicy stories that are going to be included in tomorrow's lawsuits, well, I assume they'll be included. I hope those are fun for you. I hope you get to realize just why none of those investigation details have been released. And again, these are people who have blurted out things constantly for 2 months, but they're mum on this. Their mum on this. Why? You always have to ask why they haven't presented their evidence. And I think we know. We know. DLJ Screwjob says, well, the tea and the stamp tax being forced to house British soldiers and asking for representation in parliament and being denied. And those were just a few. Yeah. But the story goes, the tea is what broke the camel's back. All right, guys. Vic tweeted just now. What did we got? This is breaking news. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Okay. Just a second. We're going to bring this over. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Boomering everything. I want to get this on screen for you guys so you can see it. There's a little video. That we're going to play. So let me go ahead and ditch my... There we go. So here we are. Let me turn the volume on. Let me do this. Let me turn the volume on here. Okay, here we go. I hope this doesn't blow your ears out. Here we go. Oh, the tweet says from Vic Mignogna, I can't begin to express how grateful I am to the KamehamehaCon staff and all the wonderful attendees who came out this past weekend. It was a perfect event with so much positivity and enthusiasm. Thank you so much. So there you go. Here we go. Ooh, that's a line. That is one heck of a line. So there's Vic's tweet. Great to see another message from him. I'll have to give that a like and a retweet. I would encourage all of you to do the same if you're into that sort of thing. You know, it's really fantastic to see such a good result for him. All right, guys. Kunami13 Sora says, Nick isn't kidding. If people have a reason to lie about you, they will. Several folk at my university tried to get me expelled because I got a different part in a play. They tried and will try everything. So there you go. All right. And if you're talking about the audio in that, I couldn't hear the audio. It was going through my headphones. I didn't have them on, but there you go. That line is huge. Thank you so much. All right, guys, I'm gonna peace out on this stream. I don't know if I'm gonna do Twitch tonight. I'm very, very tired, but I'll see. Got to get some food, but I may need to sleep. If I'm gonna do Twitch, I'll announce it on Twitter a few minutes before. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys have a great night. Hopefully tomorrow is lawsuit day. Peace. Okay. Not peace. Asphyxiation wants me to play the DM on Twitter. Just a second. We're back. Hold on. Oh, is this stupid thing still playing? Let me get it pulled up. Buddy. Hold on. Here we go. Come on. This is what you want me to play? Just a second. We'll see here. Okay, hold on. Hold on, here we go. And Ray Angry says, your stream is not over yet. You must read this. Okay, there you go. But Asphyxiation wants me to play this DM here. Give me a second. Okay. Here we go. All right, let's hear that. I have no idea what this is gonna say, but let's see. I'm not gonna play forever, but here we go. Oh wait, I gotta unmute it.
From Asphyxiation, when can we hope to see you talking to Nick and his black boyfriend Drexel? I want to see the banner. Would be absolutely marvelous. We'll see. Hostile Takeover, no Pikmin 4 coming from Nintendo actually makes me...
Okay. I got it. There you go. Oh, we'll get Medicare on a Drexel stream. That'd be great. Oh, here, let me pull my face back. All right. Are we is that it? I think that was about it, unless something else came in. Hold on. Oh, Butthole Weeb. This is a final chat. It says, I will say 100% you have way more anime viewers now than you did since our last 2 week streams. I think Weeb streams, he means. I think just a fun little anime drinking stream would be refreshing from the Vic stuff and would be good. Yeah, and I would love to have Peach's input on that stream as well, because she's an anime fan. And all right, guys. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to peace out for real this time. No more chats will be read. Have a good night. Bye. Peace.